Hey everybody, welcome back to another all-new X's for Show, your premier media response show. You can check us out all over the interwebs at X's for Show on all your social medias. But as for me, Nico, hey, I'm Nico Action, and you can check me out on Twitter and Instagram and Blue Sky. I'm sorry, X. Because you can't retweet anymore now, you can only repost. I guess it's better than being able to re-X or something. You can find me at
called
Nico
skating.
Action.
Reeks.
Yeah.
Well,
it's all
Nico
weird.
Action, NICOACTION, passing the mic.
I'm TK. You can find me at TK Elemental at all of those same places.
And you can find me at Kev O'Reilly. That's KEVOREALLY. And we have quite a magical episode in store for you today.
It's a gaming day.
We love gaming day.
And it's not just any gaming day. We've done like special kinds of gaming days so far, right? We've done Final Fantasy. We've done Legend of Zelda. We've done Splatoon. And so I can comfortably say we haven't really left the Nintendo Switch ecosystem yet, which is why today
we're
is
still not really leaving.
well, no, today is a great day because we're going to totally leave the Nintendo Switch gaming ecosystem to play some card games.
Well, that's part of it. I like this one because it's pieces of things that we're all obsessed with. Final Fantasy was very much a Nico thing. Zelda and Splatoon are very much me things. Splatoon will meet in the middle a little bit because Nico does play with me.
And I love it. I really do love it.
This is I am of the three of us the most video games person. Weirdly, Nico is the most platformer person between the two of us.
By a country and city combined mile.
But I will say I think ultimately I play more of them. I just think I love them less. Nico particularly loves the Mario franchise, the hallmark of all platformers, which is honestly not my favorite. I am a very big card game person, mostly like archaeologically. I'm very fascinated by them, but
I get that.
bad at most of them. And you guys are Disney people. And I'm also an ARG person. I think we're kind of equally ARG people in our own ways. But you guys are really big Disney people. So the fusion is here. We're doing things that we all love, but just like a little bit from here, a little bit from there, shake it all up. And this is the stew.
When I was in the Boy Scouts, I like tried to tell some of the scouts, like when I was really young, I was like, I think there's something different about me. I think I'm homosexual. And everyone in my scout troop, I can't speak to all scout troops, but my scout troop was like, all right, you can only jack off on Tuesdays in the tent. Can't do it any other day of the week. It's weird. And you have to play Magic the Gathering. Anything else you want to do, anyone else you want to be, you can be and you can do. But if you want to share common ground, you really need to TCG. And trading card games are like a hallmark and a benchmark of major industry. People don't realize this, but the only character to eclipse Mickey Mouse in total sales in terms of an And Friends franchise, right? The number 2 selling And Friends franchise of all time is Mickey Mouse and Friends. The number 1 is Pokemon, and it's Pikachu and Friends. And kind of sort of the whole reason for that is like that 30% of the sales for the entire franchise come from that insane card game. And so card games are really a market. And, we talk about a lot on this show how the esport market isn't taken seriously enough, despite being like the first ever tween $1 trillion market, basically. TCG is unbelievably close. And to tie it all back together, Nintendo was founded in the 1890s as a card game company.
That's right.
So it's all really kind of a beautiful cycle that brings it all together. I love kind of being a Nintendo fanboy. I'm sure there's something wrong with it, and I'm sure like somewhere along the line I'll get dinged. I've owned all the requisite systems. I still have an Atari in my garage, so you can go clock your retro needs with that, right? But I've had everything, and I really am enamored of this little system, and I had to bring out my Minnie, my light.
Your peach boy.
We live in a world where everything should just be called plus and minus, right? We watch things on Disney Plus. This is a Nintendo Switch minus. It's like fine. I'm not upset. Okay.
Would
Anyway.
you accept greater than, less than?
Yeah, because I always teach it as like eating things, and I'm always
You eat the
hungry.
bigger number, or
I always teach it
Um,
as it's like your teacher toward peanut butter, and that's how I always teach.
and
'Cause
they
the people-
all get it.
Yeah,
They would.
I'm very glad that you sort of lumped in card games and esports because, well, for one thing, like the most popular card game, Magic the Gathering, is a physical game, but also has a very big esports presence. There are a bunch of other ones that are card games, but exclusively digital. Legends of Runeterra is another really big one, which is the world of League of Legends.
and not to, but like
no, please.
ones that have their own like mythos as digital games,
Yeah.
different from their physical counterparts.
Yep.
Honestly, nothing drove me away from Magic harder than working in a comic shop and seeing people's heart break every time they opened a pack. Like nothing, blind boxing is not for me, and the nature of physical card games is so hard. I can't believe we've never done a whole episode about it, but if there is any one thing I spend way too much time and money on, it's Marvel's Contest of Champions. And I love Marvel.
Sure, its time will come.
Yeah, the day they're like, we're eight stars and retiring. But until the day that they take those servers offline, I live for that game, kind of, sorta. It's like it's my escape all day, every day. It's hard enough for me where it's just shards. It's like crystals that I save up, that I earn through gameplay, like free gameplay. I try to put no more than like $10 into it a month. I do the bonus pass that they make available, and I try to keep it at that. But it's hard because in a blind boxing world, like I can't believe that we're going to talk about Lorcana. I can't believe Lorcana sucked me in. It looks so good. It looks like everything I wanted. I'm in the car, doing like a drive call on the way back from a place, and I'm talking to Teak, and I'm like, I just need it to be like beautiful, mind-bending Sienkiewicz on a Topps card art. Like, I need this to be Ultra Fleer 94 reinventions of characters that look beautiful. It can't just be clip art. And
what
then
you said is, I don't think it's going to be for me, because what I need to get into it is the description you just gave. And at that point, we were still kind of mulling over the concept for the episode, and we hadn't really gone over a lot of the art. And so between that, you said that, I said, well, it's still worth talking about, right? You said, yeah, of course. And either went to work or got home from work and sat down. And about 20 minutes later, you messaged me, all caps, oh my God, it is exactly what I wanted.
So now we did have a question. We had a starter question that we were just so excited about. But the starter question matters. Like, it actually does, because it's something I really want to interact with. Keva, would you flash us that stunning starter question with your stunning baby blues? Oh, okay. I'll read it. Okay. What magic world?
Read it too? Oh my God. I'm doing all the work for you.
What magic world of
I
Disney
can't read.
would you most want to play in? And my answer to this is a little unusual, but it's a world nonetheless. I kind of think that the most incredible world in all of Disney is a specific stage show. Phantasmic is this moment in time. It's this thing that plays 200 times a year, 300 times a year if you're lucky, depending on the year. And it's Mickey just kind of teleports onto the stage and then proceeds to play through the magical worlds of Disney, all of them that he can get his grubby little mouse hands on. And there's different versions in every park currently. And it's a really incredible experience. It's sort of like what if Mickey was Sora in Kingdom Hearts, the 30-minute stage show. And it's just some of the best score in history. I tried to arrange an arrangement for this episode, but by golly, is it the most incredible piece of score I have ever tried to get my hands on. I'm so excited that it's going to be something I work toward. But it's actually just, what if Mickey was home sleeping? Kind of. And that's actually explored a lot in Disney canon, whether it's Dream Along with Mickey, where it's sort of like Mickey's dream party, or it's oh man, the animation building out in Disney California Adventure, which is what if Mickey's animation dreams came to life, and there's a stage show that out there, number one, in California, they sing live. I can't do this. I can't get
No,
on a
you can't.
Charlie
Yeah,
rant
truly,
for
we
Charlie's
can't. There
sake.
is a good reason for it, and one day we'll have reason to talk about it,
But-
that's not today.
The idea that Mickey has access to sort of like this magical world where he can tell his stories, and it's even reflected in other characters having access to it in my all-time favorite and the most repeated Disney 3D show of all time, Mickey's PhilharMagic, which should be called Donald's No Good Very Bad Day.
What was the water one?
That's Fantasmic, I think.
Oh, no,
World of
Wa-
Color.
World of Color, where they do it out on water projection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was super cool. Anyway, Kevo, do you have an answer for this?
I might. Why? Do I have to go first?
I want you
You
to go
have one?
first.
It's such a broad scope of question.
Yeah.
And I feel like your answer didn't even just end up landing on Fantasmic, but like the breadth of Disney stage shows in a lot of ways.
If you want to say all of Once Upon a Time, it's yours.
Once upon
Honestly-
a time, the guys are hot, but it's so dramatic.
But for like a game setting, there's a way in which it would make a lot of sense. Like, I don't know that, like, for instance, if you wanted to do an MMO or something, I don't know that I love Disney character world as an MMO. I don't hate it, but it just maybe, like, I might watch it from afar and not particularly play.
From
Once
Jafar.
from Jafar, yes. Once Upon a Time would actually be like DC Universe, Marvel Heroes Online. Like, you truly could do an incredible MMO, identifiable characters, but human versions of them, so you could kind of get into it. Just my point only being that should that be something that you would like? I actually think it's very viable.
Definitely for sure. And I think another one that even jumped out at me was the always potential and more recently through DuckTales implied like shared universe of the Disney afternoon would also be a really interesting one for that too in terms of other Disney worlds. But yeah, there is really so much ongoing potential for Once Upon a Time with that.
Didn't you do an episode about that with a bunch of hot guys?
We did do.
I mean,
We
also
did
led by
do.
you, hot guy, but I mean, like it was a cavalcade of hot men.
Yes.
Yes.
Cartoon cavalcade of hotness.
We did do an excellent selection of Disney afternoons, and I shouldn't have let you go first because mine was going to be essentially that.
Joke's on you.
I was thinking, I was thinking the Ducks. Specifically, the Ducks would be, like if we're talking Lorcana, I would love to do just Duckburg deck / set. And I would even go, my D23 would be like a Justice Ducks card, which I still think they should find some way to get in a solid reference to.
Big rumors that it's coming. Big rumors
Yeah.
that with Darkwing Duck doing a Justice Ducks crossover event, I think there's a lot of room to bring it to TV.
Yeah. But I think, Duckburg also with maybe some Three Caballeros in the mix as like some bonus.
Okay, but as long as you do the Legend of the Three Caballeros, which was, such a brilliant show, so beautifully and lovingly created, ported over to America through the magic of Disney Plus, all the things that Disney Plus sacrificed, I am so glad they didn't give up such a great work of duck magic.
Truly, if y'all take anything away from this entire episode, Legend of the Three Caballeros is on Disney Plus, and like nobody in this country knows about it. I didn't know about it until I met these two, and I didn't care about it when they were asking me to watch it. It is actually legit if you are a fan of if you are in your mid to late 30s and you loved Disney afternoons. It is a very good, even still good to watch as an adult show. that also features Grey Delisle, who has been in everything. She's Azula.
The bad guy is
Oh, Wayne Knight.
yeah. What is
Newman.
his name? Newman. Thank you. I'm the only guy who has a 1993 New York sense of humor, who wants to bite into a Lindy's cheesecake, who doesn't appreciate Seinfeld. So,
It's true.
I'm there with you.
yo,
We're-
but
we're brothers in
anything
that.
for a 1993 Patrick Warburton. Oh my
True,
god.
100%. But yeah, Legend of the Three Caballeros, just an absolutely dynamite show.
I
that-
definitely
yeah.
want us to get through. We needed to finish getting through that as a group, and I want us to get through the recent DuckTales because there's a lot of
Yeah.
really interesting stuff for it. I think we would enjoy talking about from that.
Yeah, done.
All right, something I'm really excited to talk about. We usually try to get into the episode by 15 minutes. It's 16:10. We're killing it.
Let's
so,
do it.
Disney Illusion Island. I pre-ordered this some 6 months ago, I think. Like, I pre-ordered it the day
When it was
that-
announced.
that Nintendo bugged me about it. It was a great day. So we're going to be hitting Illusion Island, Lorcana trading card game, and the In Parks trading card game, Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. But this first hour is devoted to the magic that is Illusion Island, right? I'm a rubber hose guy. That's really my artistry, and I really think that Disney has decided to celebrate some of the things that make it so spectacular. Kind of traces back to the magic of Square Enix. Now, you might not realize this, but there would be no Astro Boy without Walt Disney. There would be no Kimbra the White Lion without Walt Disney. There would be no Lion King without Kimbra the White Lion. There would be no resurgence of popularized Mickey is a cool badass if it weren't for Kingdom Hearts. I joked earlier today to TK that anytime somebody's like, Disney might fold, it might go down stock wise. I'm like, no, Japan as a country would buy Disney before they let Mickey Mouse fall into, lostness. And like, I think Disney would try a Hail Mary, like giving Neil Gaiman access to the Disney parks before they burned it to the ground. So, like, for me, when you boil the entity of Marvel as a universe down, you can get it down to the 1963, 1964. I'm actually going to stretch it to 1969 because I can't see a universe without Black Panther, World of Wakanda. Anyway, but if you were to boil the Disney entity down, I think you get it down to the Fab Five. For those of you who don't know, the Fab Five are Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Pluto, and Goofy. Now, Pluto is, of course, unfortunately missing from this game, but Pluto is just as
DLC,
important.
baby.
Oh, shit. And then also Daisy. Daisy represents an important sixth member of the brand, and I'm not looking to start a fight with anybody. I don't want the fight, but the seventh member of this brand is Stitch. You just can't convince me otherwise. He literally saved the company from bankruptcy. Chris Sanders' unique vision for animation as a form of expressing love, kindness, family. There is something so significant to the cultural iteration of what Stitch did to Disney animation. All of this is possible because of Stitch. And I'm very, very hardcore that Stitch does represent the seventh member of that core brand. However, I just need to... So we work for the company, so we're nerds. So we work for the company, so we're nerds. And I kind of promised that these guys would make an appearance in the episode. But when Hong Kong Disney opened, we happened to work for the company. And there was a special thing where if you were a cast member, you could buy a couple of things from Hong Kong opening day. And so I have this sort of one-of-a-kind-ish Mickey from Hong Kong Disney's opening, which comes with this Hong Kong Disney opening seal. But what's so special about Pal is that he actually comes with a matching Pluto, because worldwide, Pluto
his head is attached.
Yeah, his head is attached. It's just a very green. So this is the set. And like, we're talking about a country that is Hong Kong. It's a separate country altogether from Japan. But the Asian sort of continental influence reflecting American iconography through Mickey Mouse, through this unbelievable world where there's 3 Asian continent Disney parks. There's only 2 North American continent Disney parks. So when we talk about Nintendo making Illusion Island, we're talking about a continent in the same way we talk about North America as a continent, and I include Mexico within the North American, Central American, sort of view, right? We're talking about an entity that cares about Mickey Mouse like we care about Elvis. Like, I really just want to say very carefully that Japan has more exclusive Disney games than America does. And they have exclusive Disneyland platform. They have Tokyo Disneyland platformers, you guys. It just doesn't seem fair, does it? So what I'm trying to say is that...
sorry.
Well, it's devastating. Illusion Island represents to me a dream come true in ways I can barely speak about. It's a Metroidvania, you guys. I realized how gay I was looking at Samus and thinking, I'm so gay looking at her that I know I'm attracted to men and still want to be her guy. Like, that's how hot Metroidvanias are. Man, TK, getting you to play this was actually really easy, and I expected it to be difficult. And that reflects something that I think this game has right away in aces upon diamonds upon clubs. So talk to me a little bit about what it was that made you attracted to playing Illusion Island while I put these 2 collectibles that are completely irreplaceable back where they go.
Gently. For me, it was seeing the credits and seeing that David Housden was doing the music. David Housden, as I mentioned in our last episode, is one of my favorite video game music composers, particularly the soundtrack for Thomas is Alone, which is literally a 2D platformer where you play as a square.
That's a handsome man.
And yeah, that's a very generous picture.
Good job, Kevy.
Thomas is Alone is a game where you play as literally just a square, just like a 2D square that platforms around a map. And it is narrated really beautiful, but it has this soundtrack and this story. Thomas is a in-game living creature with a whole life, and there's just this absolutely beautiful soundtrack, which is fully strings, synths, it's everything, and listening to it just gets me choked up. It's just absolutely beautiful. Lost Words also really just has a phenomenal soundtrack. So David Housden is somebody who I think to myself, well, if you did that, you care a lot about what you are presenting here. David Housden makes the kind of music with the kind of skill and attention to, audio aesthetic that I feel that Disney asks its animators to have when they make a truly classic Disney movie. Nice. And so seeing his name on there, immediately I thought like, oh, they made a choice here, and now I need to know what other choices they made.
Speaking of choices, his outfit is very clearly the outfit of every dad who is looking to hook up at the Disneyland resort.
Which is every dad. Let's just be clear here.
He literally, this score captures, oh my God, the score captures Disneyland in a way that like is romantic. I had the luxury of falling in love with my husband in new ways out in the Disneyland resort. And Disneyland is like, it's not Walt Disney World to me. Walt Disney World is like the A++. But Disneyland gets an A++. It's so close. And, David really, really captured the magic that makes California, California, and Disneyland, but never once made me say, I'm giving up this fantastical, magical world. I tend to play my games with the audio off, except for all Final Fantasy games where I blast that audio. Sorry about it. This game I played with the audio on, headphones in, because it is just mercilessly good.
And it's funny because the first track really sounds like a David Housden track. It really is just these swelling strings, and it's really emotional and beautiful. But then basically every other soundtrack file in the game sounds like a Disney song. Like all of them sound reminiscent of something like When You Wish Upon a Star, which coincidentally we have somebody else who has done an arrangement of in the mix here.
We got it pumping right now.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Our original track for the day is Nico's arrangement of When You Wish Upon a Star, the Disney classic. That, you know, When You Wish Upon a Star is the basis of what you see, like the Disney mark that you see at the start of every Disney film. It is the classic Disney song, and there are other songs from, like, you know, When You Wish Upon a Star, Once Upon a Dream. There are these tracks that really are Disney classics, and I feel as though David Howson really captured the magic of every Disney classic to start, and then he really started branching into, like, the city level sound, like the type of soundtrack song that you would get in, like, a Goof Troop.
Actually, I only want to challenge and raise it and say he did his homework, and it felt like I was listening to Castle of Illusion music. Like,
yeah,
it felt like he was reaching out to my platformer Sega, playing in interventions, not willing to let the kid behind me play. This is my turn. I want to play Sega. He gave me that vibes. It was loving.
And getting that, like knowing that I was going to get that immediately, my next question is, okay, so what's the visual aesthetic? And we get to a look at the main characters where it is just ever so slightly different and retro and reminiscent of early Mickey, I mean, this is just such a...
I was going to ask you to make that for my phone background. Thank you.
You just got to flip it now. You just got to make it long. This aesthetic, to me, immediately, it says there's another really important, intentional choice in the mix. Because they really could have just made them all look like Disney's version of Mario, Peach, Toad.
We've seen it. We hate it.
Yeah, exactly. We have seen it, and you know, we don't hate it. It just hasn't been successful, and it's not Disney. It's not. This is not where the strength lies. So I think going with this like semi-retro aesthetic was a really, really special choice. And so from there, I just thought, like, they're 2 for 2. Now I'm now gonna, you know, purchase this at full price, and I got to get into the gameplay. And immediately you can see that the developers decided they were going to be iconic, and they were going to give us platformer in a way that I don't want to say like we've never seen done before, but I think we rarely see with such grace and elegance. And we'll get more into it, but just right off the bat, that's, you know, 5 days before the game comes out, you know, right before I purchase it, and then immediately I check out these things, and immediately I can see, okay, we've got something on our hands here, and what an exciting thing, because I don't feel that way about games very much these days.
And I love that you even pointed out you paid full price for it, because I did too, and I think I've paid full price for 3 games in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I pay full price for very little. I pay full price for Calvin Klein's like high-rise briefs and AAA
like
games.
Calvin Klein has a video game?
God, if you could design your own briefs in a Calvin Klein game, I would play that for literally all day.
It's that computer program from the beginning of Clueless. That's
Yes.
Well, you know, speaking of retro, because Clueless, what a killer reference. Kevo, this actually continues a trend for us as a Disney aficionados, and that's fish who love Disney. And so
officially,
anybody who's a fan of the show Friends might have ever caught the show Episodes, which uses Matt LeBlanc as a real world parallel of himself living in the Friends world. And we're in a rewatch of Joey right now, where it turns out it's like Episodes is like, what if there was a behind the scenes episode for every episode of Joey? It's really hard to explain. But anyway, anybody who is a fan of Episodes might be a fan of an actor who plays the character Castor Soto in
Oh
multiple
yeah, that's where you're
seasons.
going.
He is beautiful. He's a very handsome man. But more than anything, he is dynamically funny in a very adult way, and yet is able to summon the quality of Mickey Mouse for, I believe, multiple languages and multiple projects. And the actor who plays Castor Soto over on episodes is the
Did you
ongoing.
see? Did
I'm
you
sorry.
see that I had the slide ready for this, or were you just
Oh no, I just know my
you
husband because
do?
my husband's a king. This
Wait, is that better?
fucking
No, it's Brian. Okay, yeah, it's Brian from The Office.
No,
Got it.
but
yeah,
he's also yeah, exactly, Boom Mic guy from The Office, Castor
Yeah.
Soto.
Holy shit, I had
from
no idea his
episode-
body looked like that.
oh my
Oh
god, yeah.
yeah, he's
This
so hot.
this 275% king over here is the voice of Mickey Mouse for 10 years. And I only want to say that because Kevo, this brings together so many things we love. There's an advancing idea that the guys that are funny in this way are allowed to be funny in Disney. I think of no one more excitedly than Danny Pudi, who gave the
Yeah.
all-time greatest quote of all time.
On
Larry,
DuckTales, Larry.
I'm on DuckTales.
DuckTales.
You know, that's the greatest quote from the funniest man who has the biggest heart. So, like, Kevo, this ties into an attraction in the theme parks, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroad, which ties into, of course, the wonderful world of Mickey Mouse, breathtaking series of, I think they're on their third series, which is wrapping up right now, of shorts. Kevo, what does it mean for you to see the return of Rubber Hose Mickey?
I feel like it is a really cool blending of everything that animation can do now with the way that Mickey and friends looked at the very beginning of their creation. It's been a really cool thing to see over the last 10 years or so. You know, we have nieces and nephews that are entering middle school who grew up on this version of Mickey in shorts. I remember when they were little kids and my sister, you know, distracting them with these shorts on her phone. And I cannot believe that it's been going on for this long and been going on for so long that it made sense to guttingly retheme the great movie ride to be something that honestly is such a huge hit with fans, where it is the first attraction in the parks that is themed to Mickey, which felt impossible, but I believe is historically correct.
They
And
really fought to avoid it as long as they could.
they really did, and they really did ultimately find the best place and the best way to do it, where it is this attraction where you are taken to see the world premiere of Mickey and Minnie's short, something about a picnic. I don't remember what it's called, but the screen explodes, and you are given the opportunity to enter this Mickey and Minnie short, and you go through all these different worlds, interacting with these Mickey Shorts characters. It is an amazingly fun trackless ride.
And if I can,
Absolutely. Go ahead.
just to build on that, because it actually utilizes something that also people don't realize, that there's something known as a dark ride. When we say dark ride, we actually mean a ride that projects scenes that represent the scenes that are someone else's story. So like a roller coaster, you go through a thrill experience. A merry-go-round, you go in circles, and there's things that aren't horses. A carousel, there's only horses. I'm just saying. But a dark ride is a specific thing, and you know they have a really incredible history in both Luna Park's Coney Island, and of course the sort of the German tradition of the amusement park. And of course, anybody who wants to know what a dark ride can look like today just needs to go and look at Eiffelpling, the most incredible non-Disney theme park on the planet. Man, that's my dream trip. But this is a tradition. The dark ride is as old as Mickey Mouse, and this is a celebration of the dark ride. And it just meant so much to hear you point out some of the technical things that make it so special, because this was made for guys like you, guys like longtime show contributor Kyle, guys like me, who live for the theme park experience to reflect a historiography through moments. Yet it's also designed for a guy like TK, who says you can't rest on the history of theme parks Remind me why you were amazing and show me what you can be today. I feel like this attraction is that, and it's why it has the longest line in the Magic Kingdom, and now one of the longest lines in Disneyland day after day. Because thank God it's not
Excuse me.
Soarin' anymore.
No. You did not get it in
Did
the
I just say Magic
It was
Kingdom?
in my park, Disney's Hollywood Studios.
I meant,
Sir.
oh no. Oh, it's,
My
because
home.
it should be in the fucking Magic Kingdom.
It should be, but it's not. I got it, bitch. And it's the only thing that made the inevitable and necessary death of the great movie ride. Because it was either that or completely overhaul it in such a way that it was going to keep becoming outdated. And instead, it is this timeless idea of Mickey Mouse in like such a classic style and such a really beautiful culmination of so much of parks technology in terms of like this is both video screens and moving parts, and it is this beautiful trackless ride system that pays tribute to the way that there were multiple show scenes and multiple show storylines in the Great Movie Ride. There's different directions you can go with this ride. It's such a really cool combination of everything you can do with the parks without just relying on, so many virtual, what are those things called where it's just that mover with the screen? Those are really cool, but we can do so many things combining both practical and special effects now.
I'm so sorry, Kevo. You sold it too good. We have to end this broadcast. Kevo and I are heading down to Disney World right now.
We have to go now that we've expanded our family again. We have to go as a further expanded family again.
Yeah, we've never had the pleasure of going with TK. We of course got to take JoJo, and we got to do a Christmas party, and it was everything. Anybody who doesn't know, we're going to talk a lot about Christmas parties in a minute. But anyway, so I agree. Runaway Railroad is the playthrough live experience that is Illusion Island. They are reflections of the same thing. There's a lot of press about Disney's ending the Mickey cartoons, and that's just everybody telling the AI to write that. It's not actually happening. I love that AI just writes what we tell it to now. Anyway, from AI to II, Illusion Island. Woof. For those who don't know what a Metroidvania is, imagine you wake up in a room and you find out that as you venture out of that room, you are building a map you can always look at on your phone. Everywhere you've been, it traces it. And what if that room never stops growing? What if this is the dream life of Rand McNally? And you get to build a dream map that is so big and annoying that you will never get out of it, sir.
A couple big details. The name, as you can imagine, comes from Metroid.
It actually comes from Dr. Metroid Vainopoulos, who was the first ever doctor of video game design in Greece.
Oh, God. I said I was going to beat you up, but you just got that so right. Now I can't. 2 games, Metroid and Castlevania, both of which...
I mentioned Metroid before. I would gouge my eyes out for Samus if she told me to. She's the hottest fucking woman to ever live.
Samus, such a babe. One of the best twists, reveals in the history of video games. How many men just I think that really broke.
It introduced
heterosexuality
yeah, exactly.
for men for a while, that they were just playing as this badass living weapon bomb, and then you get through the whole game and discover you've been playing as a woman this whole time.
Martin Lawrence's Shanae is actually half Samus. That's where he summoned a lot of the strength for that character.
Yeah. As Nico mentioned, a big part of Metroidvanias is building the world map through exploration. And not just that, but the fact that you inevitably will have to return to previously explored areas, usually because you get another ability or power-up that means that parts of the map that you have explored previously but found there were areas that were inaccessible to you, you are now able to get back to. So it is a platformer in the way that Mario is, where you are, literally jumping on platforms. You're going forward. You're trying to get to the next destination, and what defines a destination can be different in a lot of these games, and the reasons why you're going in a certain direction. But the difference is with Mario, it's a static level. Usually, you start, you head right through the whole thing.
I loved this boss battle.
Yeah, phenomenal. And you're trying to get to the end at the other side of the screen and, go to the next level. With a Metroidvania, a game like Illusion Island, you are trying to get to certain points on the map, but then you are trying to go all the way back to where you started and get to another point on the other side of the map. Then you're trying to go all the way back to that first place and go down. And
is this what living in LA feels like? Is this what living in LA feels like? Is LA just a Metroidvania? This is why the best ever SNL impression of LA people is
The
just
Californians.
doing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I took the 405 to
Alright,
the 101 to
serious.
the 3 to the 7. Now, what did you
Yep.
take? Oh, you took the Cross Express.
This is Nico being like, how did you get the slide ability? And me saying, yeah, you just have to go to this little point where I mapped the thing, but in order to do that, you're going to
TK
want to go
taking
east on the map.
photos
And
of his screen and circling things as I sob. Long
Oh my
tradition of the
gosh.
men I'm seeing taking care of me in video games. Long tradition.
this is another really great part of the game.
Hidden
you-
Mickeys?
The hidden Mickeys, for one thing, I mean, go ahead on what a hidden Mickey is IRL.
So, if you are lucky enough to go to the Disney parks, there are things that are arranged so that they give you the illusion of Mickey. And sometimes they're like a constellation in the sky in an attraction as you're looking up, and it's vaguely a Mickey head. And sometimes it's like as you're walking by on test track, it's 3 tires that are just the shape of Mickey ears. You know what I mean? Sometimes they are designed by the brilliance of the incredible team like Marty Sklar and Joe Rohde, and other times they are my coordinator Lizzie bending some metal into a shape and saying, "Don't tell anyone I did that." Hey, she's definitely a manager now. Hey, what's up, Lizzie? You were the one time I actually passed out on stage, and Lizzie, who's 5'7", and so I was a Disney cast member for 5 years. And one time I became very ill and I passed out on stage. And Lizzie, she's 5'7". She's this like little white chick with crimped blonde hair, crimped like strawberry blonde hair. Just can't let me look sick on stage. And she literally just like carries me off stage. She's like, everything's good. Because, you can't look sick on stage. So it's, anyway, big shout out to Lizzie. That's a memory that I will never escape. But I remember she specifically set up some really cool hidden Mickeys because the idea is anything you see that looks like Mickey could be a hidden Mickey. And it's part of the theme park lore, part of the theme park magic. And to copy it into something like this, that's why when I said the score reminds me of Disneyland, it was so important to highlight that connectivity.
And so throughout the game, you just exactly as if you were exploring a park, one of the Disney parks, you get to places and there's just a hidden Mickey. There's a part where you get the iconic Mickey 3 circles, the head and the ears, and you are encouraged to stop and take a photo at these places. And the photos are so often Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy looking so happy, and Donald just looking surly.
That is an Epcot Kodak spot if I've ever seen one. Anybody who's ever taken a ride on Journey into Your Imagination knows what an Epcot Kodak spot is.
And so the hidden Mickeys make up one of a few different Easter eggs and like achievements in the game. That the other thing that makes this a really excellent platformer is you have a bunch of different acquirables and achievables.
The metrics. It's so important to have milestones in a Metroidvania. It makes it likable.
And it gives you other ways to play. Essentially, like, you're always doing story mode, but you can get through place to place, story to story pretty fast in this game. It's not driving you insane. But if you want to clear a level, that means finding all the hidden Mickeys, finding all the glimps, which are, in this game, your version of coins from Mario or rings from Sonic the Hedgehog. There are tokens, of which in each general area there tend to be up to 4. And those are just like cards that tell you something about the characters.
And when you get all of them, you do get a 100% completion notice. You get a congratulations, you finished this part of the map, never come back here for the love of God.
Yeah. You get memorabilia, which are just
the memorabilia is the best part for anybody who's a huge Disney nerd. I swear to God, it's worth a $50 price tag for the memorabilia coins alone. They like it. It is like somebody asked an Imagineer to come up with that photo gallery. It's obscene.
It really is exactly that. I think it really was meant to say, like, if you love Disney, hey, we get why you love us. Like, we get what you love about us. These decades of history and all these little things that we've done, all these films that you might have seen, little shorts that you might have seen, memories that you might have seen. And if you are not a Disney person, it tells you, like, hey, did you know we have this whole history? Do you know that you can see Mickey as an astronaut, Donald as a chef, that we did all these things? And here, collecting throughout this game are little pieces of memorabilia that remind you and tell you about the history of Disney. So, to clear
I hated that part.
Oh yeah, this was really difficult. So to clear a particular level, you are getting the hidden Mickeys, the glimps, which are like the coins, the tokens, which are character cards, the memorabilia, and there's like a couple other things. But
and the new rubber hose characters that you meet that add to the quality of the game, that are unique characters that I actually looked up if they were classic characters reimagined, because so many of them feel classic.
And that's another really big part of this is this is a fully realized Disney world. If you told me that tomorrow they were opening up Illusion Island in, the Magic Kingdom, I would say it's totally plausible. They've got everything they need to do it, and it's probably going to be an absolute blast. The aesthetic is unique to the game. It does not, like, our 4 characters look as though they are foreigners here, but the aesthetic is recognizably Disney. It's a really tough balance, because it can't just look like a Disney, a game that has been skinned for Disney, but you also want to give people something new and unique, and still say, like, you're in a Disney game. You are on Disney's Illusion Island. And it really manages just to absolutely kill that aesthetic. You are right insofar as every single one of these characters feels like a Disney character. None of them rehashes, but they're all characters you could imagine seeing again.
And just to anybody who has ever attended a Halloween party knows nothing matters like Clara Cluck screaming at you. I can't believe I get to talk about Halloween parties multiple Saturdays in a row.
You're welcome.
This feels like somebody is giving me everything I want. But anyway, there's even stuff like Clara Cluck appears in the game. Like, it is a certain level of fandom magic that you just don't expect to get, because one of the things is this game is about appreciating. All right, I'm going to tell a story about my weird dad for a minute. One time, my dad and I got put in the newspaper. I was asked by a member of the Disney staff to represent Disney fandom for the USA Today newspaper. And I was asked to do an article. And it was like, hey, you know what the company's looking for, do it. And I thought I was just being Tom Petty on stage. I thought I was just being charming and effortless and adorable. Turns out I was. And the lady who wrote the article rewrote the article to be about me and my dad's lifelong love of Disney. And that was not what the Disney company wanted from that article at all. But my dad is like my dad is like 6'3". He's this loud Cuban Greek man. He's very boisterous, right? And and he never means to be the loudest person in the room, but he always is. So when my dad on something, it usually means he's having an extreme reaction. And I remember this one time my dad came barreling in the house. He had just been at a Hallmark store that was closing. And they had this figurine of Mickey not wearing gloves out on the beach making sandcastles with Minnie. My dad never buys stuff at like a Hallmark. Like, if it doesn't come in the, and you know what I'm talking about, the green signature Disney box, he doesn't want it. So for my dad to lose his shit about this figurine said to me, this matters. So when I saw the shortsless Mickey figurine in Illusion Island, it said to me, when they made this game, they made it with guys like even my 70-ish, and he's not quite yet, so he doesn't want to hear that, but approaching 70-ish father, who is still 17 when he's running around the parks every single time. They thought about every age range with this game. They wanted to create something inclusive. You know, Kevo's stepdad actually still plays video games in his 70s. And that's what this game gives you the vibe of. It's a platformer, but it's a platformer designed for people who played games in 1989, people who play games in 2023, people who went to Disneyland in 1956, and people whose first trip to Disney in any form is 2022, regardless of the park's national origin. I don't know. I can't speak highly enough about this game. Its aesthetic, the gameplay, the color, the sound, because the sound mix is amazing. My biggest complaint about perhaps even Mario Odyssey is I feel like sometimes the game sounds hyper drown out the quality of the music. They make gameplay distracting. One of my big complaints about Theater Rhythm that I even logged during our Theater Rhythm, which is the Final Fantasy Rhythm game episode, is in the videos that are like, oh, you're playing over a video of the game. I can never see the steps. I never have a visual or audio problem with Illusion Island, which makes me feel like this was designed to some extent with a user-friendly sort of accessibility in mind. Now, there are some instructions not given, like they don't tell you how to use the seesaw, and later on, they don't tell you how to use the floating blobs of jelly, but if you intuit or have an incredibly hot boyfriend who will tell you what to do, you wind up okay, and you can figure out how to keep playing the game. Hey, hot boyfriend. But, you know, I just feel like if you're afraid that $50 for Illusion Island is a lot, it is a lot, but you shouldn't be afraid. It is a lot, but that's the nature of gaming. Gaming requires a certain sacrifice of belief, a certain jump in at the cost. I haven't stopped playing. I'm at 17 hours. I'm at 68% because I just kind of keep retraversing the areas I've traversed. I'm enjoying the exploration. The last time I enjoyed exploration this much, it involved discovering I was a homosexual. So, like, there is really an element to the exploration, the depth, and I'm making a joke there because actually anybody who wants to learn anything about anything, do yourself a breathtaking favor and Google the phrase Disney Martin tribute. That's what it means to completely explore something to a depth no one understands. Martin is so famous, a Disney historian. His videos have more hits than the matching parks counterpart for the same topic. So can't speak highly enough about one of the greatest video historians of all time. Of course, up there with guys like Yesterworld, Defunct Land, which is the greatest channel in YouTube history ever. It's like up there with Did You Know Gaming. I think what I'm trying to say is that I talked extensively about a romanticism I felt toward the Disney parks that brought me back to Disney several episodes ago, where I rediscovered what it was to be a part of the Disney culture, to step off the monorail and see the show of the curtain of the, the railway station, and then realize that this is a part of the enculturation I grew up in, and to be excited about it. I'm excited about this as an adult too, though, like as a guy who wants to see things that challenge me. Like, one of the greatest gifts I've had is to stop being such a dick about everything and to learn to laugh at stuff that I thought was maybe a little bit stupid. And guys, there's worse things you can do than watch a dumb sitcom, and there's a whole lot worse things you can do than listen to a really stupid dance pop album. And if you need a place that feels like safety, that feels like home, that feels like an escape, where you're safe and you know things you know, looking back to your childhood, and if you're someone like me whose childhood included a whole lot of Mickey, Disney, and Friends, then this is a place to go. This was such an excellent use of my adult money that reflected my childhood. I don't know, like that's what I'm walking away from. We talked a lot about recently. I felt like several comics weren't worth my $3.99. I felt like this was worth every penny of my $49.99. And that's the sort of thing I think about when I know that this takes me more than an hour's worth of work to earn after taxes. Like, that's the thing I'm thinking of. And I just can't speak highly enough about what this made me think about how I spent that hour of my life.
Quick note, I do believe this launched for $39.99, just in case.
Well, then it's a steal, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Or I got ripped
Even
off by
better.
Nintendo.
I don't think they bilked you of unreasonable cash.
Just you.
But just you. It's just Nico. Just the Nico tax. I think you sort of nailed what is great about this. It also is worth noting that the game offers everything from like you are basically invincible as a play option to this is really pretty challenging and everything in between. Now, if
I'm not playing One Heart. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
One Heart. You heard him.
Two hearts only.
Seasoned
Time Lord.
platformer. Even the most difficult level is probably not. This is not going to be one of the most challenging games that you ever played. So ultimately, and you know, one of the things is this has not always gotten.
No.
What do you got?
While we're on, you and I were just talking about this. This is like one of those real world things reflecting our art.
Yeah.
Well, TK and I were talking earlier today. One of the things we were talking about is that we're nervous about Lorcana getting criticism for using Marvel or Star Wars.
Yeah.
And TK was like, but you know what? Magic the Gathering, Wizards of the Coast, the names are branching out to include Doctor Who and to include Lord of the Rings. And as of 38 minutes ago, Final fucking Fantasy.
Which is huge.
All out.
Wow. Yeah, that's really
Hold on.
huge.
There's a list.
Oh my gosh.
They are literally rebranding Magic
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering to include an IP division.
Yeah.
It
Keep
is
in
now
mind, people,
called
this
the
is 30 years after Magic originally launched. So they have been insanely successful for 30 years. And now, after all this time, they are saying we're expanding by doing.
Oh my god, it's called Universes Beyond.
Yep.
It's an entire initiative.
Yep.
They will be launching all of this in 2025.
Damn.
And they are confirming the Final Fantasy cards will be usable in the online Magic the Gathering arena.
Post Malone just bought a Sauron card for $2 million.
2.6, yeah.
So it's understandable. But so we got Final Fantasy, Fallout. Were there any other big ones?
Just Final Fantasy and Fallout are the two that were in the press release. Oh my
Nice.
god, I can't believe I'm going to buy an entire complete box of Magic the Gathering. Anything for that Ultimate card, you know it.
You just sold us. So take the money. You're good to go. Well, that's gonna even more get into our Lorcana conversation. So I will wrap up with this before we go there. This game has gotten more mixed reviews than I think it ought to, and I do think a big part of that is that it is not a platformer that will be the most challenging one that you've ever played. Now, I think it's tough to say that it's not original, but it's not. In terms of gameplay, you're not going to see a ton here that you'll be like, I've never seen this in a platformer before. I think what I don't see enough people appreciating is, as I said earlier, I don't see a lot of platformers doing it with this degree of grace and elegance. with a sort of accessibility that means that if you are like a 4-year-old, you could play this game and this could be the first platformer that you will ever play, and this will teach you the entire platformer, Metroidvania, 100%ing a game, all of the conventions of video games that we kind of associate with solo play.
My first dirty sex comedy was Animaniacs, and I had no idea.
Right.
Your first Metroidvania
Rocco.
will be Illusion Island, but you'll have no idea. Rocco's Modern Life, but you'll have no idea. You'll just think you played a fun Mickey game.
Yep. And then, you can come back, you play this the first time when you're 5. When you're 10 and you have more experience, you can come back and play this with 2 hearts. When you're 16 and your dream is to become a professional gamer, you can do the 1 heart. And
great. I'm 15 years old, gaming skill-wise per TK.
Oh, I
Y'all
think you're
heard it.
less than that, but I
Evo,
think
can you
you're
make
real
some
cool.
graphics for that where my next level of gaming excellence will be 16-year-old boy? Can you do that for me?
No, I don't think I should make that.
So this is one, and like as adults, we come back to it and play it, at whatever difficulty level we do, and we have fun with the gameplay. But also, there is nostalgia to it. And if you're younger, it might not be nostalgia. This might be part of your young person Mickey journey. It has all of that wrapped up in it. I really want to give credit to Dlala Studios out of England, who made the game, for pulling references from so many of the 90s platformers that were Mickey based. That's like Castle of Illusion, World of Illusion, and they even mentioned that they took some of their gameplay, like the use of ropes, from World of Illusion. And it's also worth noting that this is the first original Mickey game since Epic Mickey. This is 13 years since we've really seen an original, and that would be a huge discussion about
Sad fair face.
what is going on and what it takes to make these things happen.
I thought they were going to open a 5th gate. I thought they were going to open Epic Kingdom, and it was going to be all Epic Mickey themed. And it was going to be the biggest celebration. I was so wrong about how much people wanted that game.
I was too. I thought it was absolutely beautiful and haunting and, adults. Like, this is... Yes.
I'm seeing now that this reads ripe pick Mickey, but
R.I.P.
okay with
Epic
that.
Mickey.
I get that request constantly on Scruff.
We all know
do.
it. It was a game that was neither ahead of its time or before its time. It was outside of its time. And
There's a separate universe where that is the Final Fantasy franchise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where somehow that integrates perfectly with what they were. It's insane to me that Kingdom Hearts is the sensation that it is and Epic Mickey is not. That's really, and that's, we could
Hold
go
on.
off and
Okay,
off.
so hold on. So the first
He's
reason
gonna
that
go
Kingdom
off.
Hearts is the greatest game
for
franchise
God's
of
sake,
all
you have
time.
it ready?
He always
I
has it ready.
don't ever do you think it's not ready every episode we film?
It's right there. You just never know when you're going to need your Keyblade.
Yeah, it's literally the only prop that has been available to me every episode we've ever filmed.
Yeah.
Good lord.
Kingdom Hearts is the best game of all time for a plethora of reasons. And the first one has to do with the accessibility of the idea of childhood wonderment. You have to step back into a place of wonderment for Illusion Island. You have to want to be Mickey for Epic Mickey, but you just have to want to be a kid for Kingdom Hearts. Number 2, the idea that you can prioritize romantic love or platonic love. Let's talk about the sexuality spectrum. Cut my mic. No, I do think that there's a zillion reasons that Kingdom Hearts is the success that it is, but I don't think there are a zillion reasons Epic Mickey isn't a success. I think, Kingdom Hearts is the majority of Lost, and Epic Mickey is the penultimate episode. That's what it comes down
way
to.
of putting it.
But to Illusion Island for a minute.
To Illusion Island, which, you know, it is a theme park in a cartridge. It asks you to come play. It gives you these recognizable characters and says they're going to take you on an adventure. And the music is there, the aesthetics is there, the gameplay is there.
The clean running on a Switch, I don't want to hear one fucking word about the Switch's limitations.
Truly.
Because literally every guy who tells me that the Switch is limited can't dunk. So I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? Y'all
Yeah.
got limits too.
I
But
mean,
this plays on the Switch like you are trying to play a Game Boy on a Sega. It
the
looks
play
beautiful.
date is like a 2-bit game system that people
Yeah.
are making fun original games for. We will never stop being able to make games for systems that are less
This could play on the
powerful.
Playmate.
Yeah. No, I'm saying we'll never be able to stop making games that play on systems that are less powerful than a modern, you know, powerful gaming PC. The fact of the matter is people make brilliant JRPGs with RPG Maker that people still love to play that, you know, could be played on a Super Nintendo. It's really fun to play the most immersive, best graphics modern game, and I build gaming PCs for that reason.
Write me a DOS game. I'd play it in an instant if you
really
make it
is still
compelling.
possible.
One of the best games I've ever played in my life as a kid that changed my life was the Disney The Black Cauldron game.
Yes.
Because I'd never experienced point and click for something I'd never experienced before. Because I played that game before I saw the movie.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I don't know. Everything you're saying, this doesn't need to run. Like Final Fantasy 16 is so beautiful that I literally orgasmed watching the trailer, but I don't understand how that's meant to be something I'm supposed to do while playing 24/7. I love orgasms, but I don't think I could literally think at my peak efficiency during one, especially several in a row. The graphics are beautiful, but sometimes a simplified graphic explores an idea more dynamically in a more competent way.
And the Switch has proven over and over again that there's still a lot that is worthwhile, and especially like if you build an amazing development environment that allows people, and this is not a problem for Disney could build on a system that hasn't been invented yet, but you know, the
Disney
fact
could
is
make the Abacus, like, you know, ART.
100%. The fact is the Switch has offered so much that allows for riveting gameplay, regardless of the fact that it is not the most powerful of you know, the big 2, big 3 consoles that are out. And that is important. That's something we're always going to be kind of wrestling with. I think this was such an experience through and through. If you are not charmed by platformers, if you are just completely not charmed by Disney,
And why are you watching this channel?
truly, like, you probably just turned this off as soon as you saw the intro. But otherwise, you know, even if you were like, Disney's great, you know, I didn't have a huge park childhood or anything. If you think of this as like platforming as a Disney park, you might have just an absolutely beautiful adventure with this. If 40 feels like too much, I guarantee you wait a month or two, this will go on sale. And I
that
just
makes me think of what we were talking on last week's Haunted Mansion episode about how there's so many ways you can experience Disney worlds and Disney magic now
yes.
that, you know, as financially inaccessible as the parks can frequently be, we all have YouTube, and many of us love to play video games, and there's so many ways that you can immerse yourself in these worlds now, and this is just a new, fun, unique way.
Kevo, you so nailed it. Like, I truly feel like if you love Disney and you're saying to yourself, it's just not feasible for me to get to the park. For me, this felt like, you know, I have not been to the parks in forever, and it's probably going to be a minute before I get to go. This felt like that. This felt like getting to have a Disney adventure, going to Disney's Illusion Island. And I had such a good time. I laughed constantly because I play as Donald. I love Donald. Nico calls me Donald, and turns out it's 100% true. it's just fun. It's just so much fun, and you know, it was my little digital park for a bit. Chip, you did, boy. Because you were throwing stuff around in your desk.
So the problem is I'm a musician first and foremost, so I sort of like try and set up a desk on my music keyboard, my Yamaha YPG.
Yeah.
So you know, if Yamaha wants to sponsor us, I've played a YPG since I'm 13 years old. So I had a YPG back when they had the black backing, right? But you know, one of the things that I think is really central to the idea of this game and the idea of the gameplay and everything we're talking about, and this kind of as sort of a question to Kevo to sort of close this thing out. When I think about the idea of who Mickey Mouse is, and you know, TK, to say that you're my Donald, I mean, you are, because everyone who doesn't know, Donald is just as special as Mickey. It's just how you look at the spectrum. I actually do think that the Big Seven or the Big Five, there is a reflection of the identity that makes the Marvel Universe, of the identity that actually not to be that particular homosexual, but makes Golden Girls and Designing Women, makes an excellent iteration of Will and Grace. And when you expand to the Big Six, makes a Friends, to harken back to something I touched on. When we talk about the iterations of the Disney brand, of who Disney is as a park function or a media function, we're talking about the accessibility of the ability to see yourself in any of these characters. Does Mickey represent Asian culture despite his popularity on Asian, you know, in Asian media or on the Asian continent? Certainly not. Mickey is in no way an Asian character, but nor is he American beyond the fact that he was first created here. There's an accessibility, you don't need to look like one of the Friends or one of the Golden Girls to be one of these people. Sure, I see a lot of Jonah in Goofy, and a lot of TK and Donald, and even a lot of Minnie and you. But that is certainly not to say that you guys are within the scope of those characters exclusively, but rather the freedom that these general iterations of trope allow us. Because Jonah is one of the actual smartest men I've ever met. You are certainly nobody's runner-up in the way that Minnie is often cast as. And TK, sometimes life hands you a jackhammer, not just a plunger. So you're not just Donald. And I want to ask you, Kevo, what is it that had you excited to cover this? You know, you're not a video game guy, you're a Disney guy, but how is it that these characters are so powerful and pure to you that you connect with them regardless of medium?
Loaded question.
Like a baked potato.
Yeah, no, I think they're so incredibly versatile. Your question already answered itself in so many ways is the thing. Yeah, they're just such versatile and interesting characters. I love the way that they have continued to develop over all of these years. I love the way that Minnie's bow in this has evolved into sort of like a head wrap with a bow on it.
It's like an expression of her. Yeah.
Such a cute like 1930s like bathing cap style for an iconic and recurring accessory of hers, and just goes to show like even something like that can be evolved so much over time. There's so many different ways that you can use these characters. They mean so many different things to so many people. I only wish that you could have Daisy in this, you know.
DLC.
This is the 4 when there's 4. When there's 5, it's usually the question of who is it going to be, Pluto or Daisy. But I really prefer when it's 6, so it can be both.
Make it 7 and put Clarabelle Cow in the mix. I mean, come on.
If you're going to put Clarabelle Cow in the mix and you don't put Horace Horsecollar, who is inexcusably, irrevocably the hot version of Dick Van Dyke.
No, he's not. Get the hell out of here. You're so weird. Horace Horsecollar?
Horace Horsecollar is clearly the hot version of Dick Van Dyke.
Hold on. Keep talking, because I'm going to
Oh, sure. Pull up the pictures.
Yeah.
I'm going to...
Get the proof.
Let's get
I'll
some
do my
receipts here.
goodbye to this while you pull these photos up for the proof, right? When I pre-ordered this months ago, I kind of thought I would be pre-ordering it in a vacuum. I've bought so many fucking stupid Disney products over the years. They constantly rip me off. Bob Iger built a hot tub on his boat exclusively with the money from my bad decisions. But I say that, and I'm never going anywhere. And it's kind of because I think we used to see church as community, and now I have the internet. And we used to see religion as belief system, and now I have my own belief system. The fuck that doesn't look like Mary Tyler Moore and Dick Van Dyke doing the Tarantella. I'm not backing down.
You're never down.
So anyway, this game for me really represented walking out of Disneyland with cotton candy in my hand, with my glow with the show ears on, looking at Kevo and saying, "Babe, I had the best night. Let's go lay down in our Disneyland hotel room." And the headboard actually has the castle lit up in it, and kind of soothes you to sleep at night. It's absurd. Not everybody can afford that, and not everybody can afford a Switch, and certainly not everybody can afford an additional $40 game on top of that. But I've had both. For $40 plus the cost of a system that gives me a lot of joy, compared to the $349 a night for Disneyland Hotel off season plus the $100 ticket for the ability to walk through downtown Disney, man, you could do a whole lot worse than Illusion Island. And I only wish that we were in a world where Disney would buy Square Enix finally, so I could have what I want and Aerith could be a Disney princess. I can't keep feeling this way every night.
Far.
Until we have that, what we have is Illusion Island as an escape. I play it in bed, stoned and drunk, and just get to pretend that I really am Mickey because I'm so dizzy. It is like swinging back and forth. And it's a really incredible experience. But when I play it at 11 o'clock in the morning on my 15-minute break, because I'm so addicted that I literally take it out between classes and I have to play for 15 minutes, it's the same incredible magical escape. It's like getting to go to Disney World for 15 minutes. It's just maybe not getting to go to California Adventure and eat out on the patio with paired cocktails.
Now, given that it's been 13 years since we had an original, Mickey Disney game, do you think we are at the start of a new era? Is Illusion Island a new sort of seed for a video game ecosystem, or is this a toe in the water that maybe from here on out those things will start getting developed?
I'll tell you who the only person I'm really interested in asking is, right? I want to ask the Game Stonk era of memers. It really comes down to what the general internet has to say.
Yeah.
I am shocked that, just to use a show we talk about a lot, to talk about Drag Race, the season with the chocolate bars, that the funny, famous meme is it's chocolate bit is fine. But how is there not a whole lot of people talking about how Bosco is the name of a chocolate syrup and Bosco got the chocolate? So it really depends on what the memery, the general public think about this. If the general public see its charm, see its attractiveness, see what makes it special, then sure, we might have an opportunity to reinvent Mickey Mouse as a video game lead on our hands. But a lot of people have spent a lot of money trying to make us give a shit about Betty Boop, and to this day, she is still just a bottle opener at a gas station to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. I am very interested to see if Disney gaming is at a new precipice right now, and I think this makes me feel like something is really possible with the right collaborations, because again, as I mentioned, this is Dlala Studios making this game. This is not Disney in-house doing it. and collaborating on more video games of a similar quality and aesthetic, maybe doing other genres of game, I'd be really fascinated. But I'm really hopeful that they will continue to explore the world of video games, and at the same time, the fact that this month we also have Lorcana coming out. Really, I have a lot of questions about what Disney thinks about gaming as a whole, and is this a sort of initiative to associate Disney with play?
Well, until we come back to discuss Judy Garland's sister, Lorcana, I am really eager to move us to our break. But as we move to our break, Kevo, one of the things that I just want to say to you is you're not a video game guy, but one of the things you do the best on this show is react to video games. Like, not just in the way that somebody walking by the game might, but as somebody who takes... It's unfortunate because we don't have a term that means takes media too seriously, takes media seriously. There needs to be a term that separates academically takes it seriously, that isn't takes it too seriously. You know what I mean? You play so well with us in these video game roundabouts, and I just want to ask you, what is it that from this game you're most eager to watch over my shoulder? Do you want to check out the soundtrack now? Do you just want to watch me play? Is it just looking up cute images of Mickey looking adorable? What's the big walk away?
Probably to see if and how it expands, if they do end up adding other characters and other properties, or if it's just going to just pretty much be this cute, intimate thing that it already is.
Well, while you guys are cute and get intimate with yourselves, we're going to go to a short commercial break. And afterward, we're going to take a look at the amazing magical world of Disney card games. Now, we're not going to take a look at the incredible expansive nature of Disney's long relationship with TCGs and the nature of Disney trying to make card games accessible. It's horrifying. We're going to take a look at both Lorcana and Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. Lorcana, of course, launching in August, and Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, a semi-ARG, semi-long-running, really amazing card game that we spent both a lot of money and a lot of time on. Oh, check out the official binder. So we're going to get into all of that after the break. But until then, enjoy these amazing commercials of other awesome content you can check out here on this wonderful network.
Oh, Kevy, I see you are hard at work doing that unbelievable producer thing.
Oh,
you do.
there
Kevy,
she is. Oh,
you are
there's
a
that
gift,
chick. Yes, we
man. Thank
love
you.
her.
I'm
Her
telling you,
shoulders
just
are
like
such a great design.
as a guy with size 13 wide feet, that makes me feel sexy. I could be that. I could be that in a big hat.
I was really I was into the classic Megazord. That was the show was coming on right as I was watching Saturday morning cartoons as a kid. That was the perfect intersection. That and X-Men in the animated series, they were happening at the same time. That was it. So the classic Megazord always did it for me. But then a little later, I really liked some of the Zeo designs, the shapes. The shapes. It's all about
Zeo
the shapes.
It's all
forever.
about the shapes.
All
That's
about
I
the
was.
shapes.
I have to be honest. I quit Power Rangers the third season because I got into
Oh, there's
boys
the-
and and Kevo was as an adult, he was can we watch these shows together?
There it is.
Can we go
There
through
it
Power
is.
Rangers together?
Yeah.
Zeo is one of the finest children's shows I've ever had the pleasure of watching. Truly one of the finest children's programs I've ever had the pleasure of interacting with. The characters represent ideals. They represent failures to meet those ideals, and then the desire to be better. And it's just a fine piece of television. Oh, and look, they've even got a Dalek.
Yeah, I still don't. Oh, one of those 2 things is the Easter Island statue.
It's the one on the right, I think.
I believe you. And then the other one, I don't know. Sure,
The other one
Dalek.
is, oh god, I can't remember what the name of the thing is called, but there's a version of it in Shin Megami Tensei. It's like a guardian statue situation.
Oh!
You know what I'm talking about? The eyes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ugh, I love Shin Megami Tensei.
Oh, me too. But this is not a Shin Megami Tensei moment. We're talking Power Rangers and Megazords.
So I am so excited to talk about Lorcana because one of the things about Lorcana that had me the most excited was that it didn't just feel like another Disney cash grab at the TCG. I don't want to say like medium, because to say that TCG is a medium is a little bit unfair. Like, well, I guess that's actually the nature of evolving medium. Is it? Medium is like a property and a collectible. I often think that TCG, trading card games, verge more on the collectible than the playable, than the medium. You know what I mean? They're a little bit closer to kind of like the NFT of gameplay than they are to the platformer, as you know, to compare it to something we were just talking about. But man, when TK was like, so we gonna Lorcana? I was like I looked at it at D23 and I skipped it. And I got to be honest, though, I'm so excited. I changed outfits because I'm for second half, I'm ready to play. Lorcana looks amazing. And not just because it feels like Disney took the time to craft an incredible project. Now, we had the pleasure of watching a number of videos from the creative team going around. I don't want to disparage other channels, but these other channels with their millions of subscribers, what are they trying to prove, right? You know, if we're going by numbers. But so no, but the guys from Lorcana have been running around doing an incredible job promoting this game. Now, I got to be honest, I left Magic the Gathering somewhere around Ravnica, I think. And I haven't really looked back. So it's been almost 20 years for me. It's just been tough. You know, you got to pick what you spend your money on. And I spend a lot of money on Disney. I spend a lot of money on Lego. I spend a lot of money on comic books. And I spend a lot of money on video games. And frankly, I also want to spend money on dumb stuff. Like, not just collectibles that I see a resale value to, but I want to go out and like get a good dinner. And like by dumb stuff, I mean stuff that's a little bit harder to talk about on this channel, but stuff that I love. And so TCGs just had to go. Of course, if we had a graphic for him, gorgeous channel contributor Jonah, he still plays, I think plays Yu-Gi-Oh! Online, plays Pokemon TCG by collecting them. But for me, I had to say, I collect 30 comics a week. I get 3 AAA games a month. I can smoke 2 bowls an hour. Some stuff's just gotta win, you know? And so for me, TCGs fell by the wayside. So when TK was like, but dude, look at this, I was like, okay, it got my attention by virtue of being something I'm interested in, like definition technical wise. And then, motherfucker, the second I looked at the art on these cards, I was mind blown. Every piece of art for every one of these 250 launch cards, by the way, they have already finished the 250 cards for Series 2. Holy shit. Please go out and buy this so I don't have to wonder what would have been. The 500 cards have unique art. As a guy who literally dresses up as Captain Hook to get his sexual yayas out, do you understand what that image of Captain Hook does to my brain? Like, this is such an experience. 4 different Stitch cards. Lilo as a space woman, so she is on equal footing with Stitch. Everything about these. Inventor Bell. God, I just can't speak enough about the quality of the idea presented here. But I'm clearly getting ahead of myself. For those who don't know, a TCG is a trading card game. Kind of about the trading, kind of about the collecting, but supposedly about the game. TK, when you brought this to my attention and you were like, so we're all already going to mortgage our house for this, right? I was hesitant. And now I've stolen the deeds and titles to several other people's homes to mortgage. Talk to me about Lorcana and how hard I'm going to whore myself for it.
So right off the bat, first thing where I was like, well, I think this is going to be different for you two especially. A lot of times when we talk about Disney, we are talking about a global conglomerate that has hands in genres, mediums.
Verizon, the theme park, right?
IP, just everything. And so when you hear Disney's doing a card game, you think to yourself, what sprawling mess of properties is this going to be? And not that that's even necessarily a bad thing, but there are times where you're just like, I maybe am a little bit tired. Maybe I'll pass on this one.
Right.
But what we saw right off the bat is this is classic Disney. This is Disney. This is, the fairy tales. This is Mickey. This is Stitch. And this is all of the stuff that we associate with that world. And there is a real question about whether or not in the future we will see Star Wars and Marvel in this. And perhaps that will sort of be their, Magic the Gathering folding in Fallout.
Yeah, Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Universes Beyond. I don't mean to be a fanboy, but it has a name.
Thank you. I actually do appreciate that because I'm going to have to get used to talking about it like that. And as I mentioned, when you just announced this on air, because it just happened, is it took Magic the Gathering basically 30 years to get to this really big expansion. There's been a bit of flirting with it. There has been some, like aesthetic use of other properties with the cards, but not really like a huge in-game push.
It didn't even take step by step 3 years to need Family Matters to help it make sense. So, I mean, the fact that Magic the Gathering has made it like 6 times longer than, I don't know, Star Trek Discovery will have been on the air.
Ooh, that's a magical world I would play in, the TGIF world.
There you go.
Man, anything to be the boy hot version of Sabrina and like get to make out with Harvey Kinkle, who
Oh my
I
god.
swear to God, as
You're
a
my
teenager, I was like, he's not attractive at all. As an adult man, I'm like, wow, the adulthood of his features is very handsome.
You're like if Harvey and Libby were one person. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm
No.
Ultra Messia now.
So
Greatest supervillain of all time.
So I am very curious about what we have on our hands here. But I know starting off the bat, we're doing Disney classics. And I think that's really smart. I think it's really beautiful. Aesthetically, I think it gives a chance for some really great art. And I just thought this is something we can all kind of get behind and play around with. And I now have some real questions and some real hopes because I think, we're looking at this and we're talking about going in on it. I have some real hopes about like Disney really getting behind this gameplay ecosystem. The fact that this could lead to a world of professional competitive gameplay.
Please don't tempt me with a good time.
I mean, I've got to. That's how we get people in on this. that it could lead to a really wide expansion of cards. As Nico mentioned, they've already got the next set ready to go, but there's just so much richness in just classic Disney that. And then, even like before we get to Star Wars and Marvel, there's Disney Afternoon, there is TGIF. Who the hell knows at this point?
And can I jump in on that?
Yeah,
when you
please,
say
please,
classic Disney, what you mean is Disney core. You don't mean
Yes.
era classic, because a lot of people know a lot of things about me by this point because I share an uncomfortable amount on air,
Yes.
right? But like the 3 Disney princes, I am by far most romantically obsessed with, not even sexually, but romantically, Philip, Beast, and the perfect man, the most perfect man ever made of all time, Eugene. Eugene is the most perfect man in the history of Disney canon. Anybody who doesn't know who I'm talking about, I am talking about Flynn Rider, the literal most perfect man ever. Also, Tangled is the most perfect Disney movie. Rapunzel is the most perfect Disney princess. Mandy Moore gives the greatest performance in any Disney movie. I am not opinionated at all. But
So many. God.
I think what I mean to say by kind of rambling about that,
Yeah.
and Kevo, I'm so excited for you to grab the mic, is it's just like, this doesn't represent 1930s Disney. This doesn't represent 2023's Disney. This represents Disney as a beautiful brand that showcases a wealth of diversity across not just the identity of woke modern Disney, which all woke means is everyone has a place at the table. So if you
Someone
have
gave
a
a
problem with
shit.
that, you are so stupid. But
Yes.
like, so not even just woke modern Disney, which again, you're stupid, but it reflects the accessibility of all Disney throughout time. Kevo,
I'm really
you are
using
that
that word.
guy.
I'm really using that word diversity a lot to talk about the potentiality of story in things too, because people have so laser focused what that word has to mean, but diversity means so many wonderful things, and not just in terms of minority visibility, but like the things that you can do with so much Disney content. I'm looking at these cards and some of these looks, like this Aladdin look
Oh,
on his card
Kevo, I'm
is
gonna cosplay that
amazing.
so hard. You have no idea.
And then this complimentary genie look with that like Green Ranger shield is super awesome.
If you
You've
can
got
find
this.
Inventor Bell at some point. Oh, do you want to tell the story about this one?
You've got this baby Tamatoa over here. You have this amazing space woman Lilo.
The
I
Tamatoa
don't.
is based on a lyric from one of his songs. My favorite Disney villain song of all time, Shiny. In it, he says he was just a drab little crab, and they loved that lyric so much. This is him as an awkward teenage dirtbag drab
Yeah,
little
you can
crab.
see it's blurry,
Drab little
but
crab,
it's
yeah, that's what it
drab
is.
little crab.
They
That's
literally were
amazing.
moved by. I mean, Lin-Manuel Miranda is the Stephen Sondheim of his generation. He just does it with beautiful melanin, and his score for
There's
Moana
this one up
is
here.
actually genius.
So
and-
shiny.
Shiny is my actual favorite Disney villain song of all time. Like, it raised the bar so uncomfortably high. Everything else seems like a bad distant third, though Be Prepared is like an A. And if you
And
try to
it's
come for Be
just-
Prepared, you need to go home.
It's the attention to stuff like that. It's the attention to accessories
Exactly.
like the fishbone quill that Ariel signed her contract with, the Eye of the Fates from Hercules.
Mhm.
Over here, we've got next to Lilo is a plasma blaster.
You have all the right taste.
Facilier's cards. All these things. This is just the cards that I grabbed. I grabbed the first, like, I can't math. What is this? 40, 80, whatever, how many cards this is. I grabbed a screen cap of them. But, you know, there's hundreds already, let alone how much further they could expand and how much more there is still that they could do.
Thank you for letting me rant about how much Moana is like one of the greatest films ever made. It's like other people have Citizen Kane. I have Tangled, Wally, and Moana. And so like
I don't think there is anything wrong with that. And oh, thank God you said Wall-E, because Pixar. I mean, like, we've got a lot of potential here, and we have a lot to figure out where we're going to go. Now, one thing I think it is important to point out, because we're seeing things like Space Girl Lilo. One of the rules of the game is that you may have up to 4 versions of a card in your deck at any time. Go ahead.
Because each
Interesting.
version of a card is the ink of the moment
Right.
of an iteration of that character.
Yes.
The ink of all of the potential of every. So the gameplay is you've walked into the magical library of all stories ever told, which, thank God, the magicians advanced storytelling. So you walk into the magical library of all stories ever. Neil Gaiman's been doing it for 20 years, 50 years. Neil Gaiman is ageless. And all the books are missing. And you take on the job of the Lorcanist, and you're bringing all the stories back together. And when you summon a character through the different disciplines, and anyone who's ever played a TCG understands, there's a couple of different groups, right? We have Emerald, Amber, Steel, Amethyst, Ruby, Sapphire, Keva. What a great grab. Excellent. That's the Inventor Bell card that I keep kind of pointing to. Just expresses how different this game means to be. And then that was, of course, the Lava Scar card that expresses why, if I was ever going to be a furry, it would be for cryptozoids. But the gameplay is you are a sorcerer, and when you use your magic ink, you're summoning an aspect of these characters. You're never summoning LeFou, and such if LeFou is defeated, he's dead. You're summoning this magical iteration of LeFou from this one moment in time, this one idea of who he could be. God, that's the most Disney Parks thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as it should be, because this is Disney's essence as this card game. And I can understand why. Look, Inventor Bell. I mean, come on.
I mean, it is such a, like, when I look at that, I see the generation of women who were like, if only you had made Belle an inventor and not just a reader.
Right.
I see the generation of, like, because I'm lucky enough to have taught a lot of STEM for women-based programs, and what a joke having a man teach that. But I've been lucky enough to teach those, and the students who are 50 times smarter than me, these genius young women, I can see a bunch of them running out and buying this game for that card.
And the fact of the matter is, all it takes is, there is inventing in her life in the same way that, like, there's space in Lilo's life. So, of course, if that's there, we can just imagine them in it.
That Scar card is literally some of the greatest, like, conceptual identity of art. The fires that burn in Pride Rock that represent devastation, and he is the cause of them. So he is shown as lava.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And so, if you look at any particular card, you can see up in the top left, you have a card cost, and the resource in this game is ink. You can see in the middle, the 2 numbers there. On the left is your strength, which means how much it's, when you attack a character, you're going to give damage. And the 3 on the right in that Scar card is the willpower, which is how much damage you can absorb. And there's no part of these rules that you're going to be like, that's insane. I've never heard about that for a game. It really is a well thought out version of how these types of games are played. And you have character cards, item cards, and action cards, and then there's sort of subspecies of each type of card. And one of my favorites is for actions, there are songs. There are song cards.
I just want to point out that anybody who needs an example of how this works, Kamala Khan's primary ability is now she is a mutant. We have her. And her sub ability is she's an inhuman. And her tertiary ability is she's a plot device. But
you nailed it.
Unreal.
So you collect ink in order to be able to draw new cards, and you down on the right here where it says special resource points, those are actually called lore, and you are trying to get 20 lore, which you get through an action called questing. So
it's just the opposite of magic.
Yeah, basically.
Because in magic, you have 20 life points worked
and
down.
that you're trying to knock, that's somebody else is trying to knock down. Yeah, and this is really a mix of you're trying to collect the most of a resource, while also having to pay attention to your opponents, and I say opponents plural because this is a multiplayer game. While your opponents are doing the same, and you're also trying to disrupt their efforts.
And they have put out such excellent examples of how to get somebody engaged in this game. Like,
Yeah.
I had said to TK that I felt sort of lost by trying to jump into this game where I was. Once I Googled the amount of incredible material that they have purposely revealed, the Ravensburger people are working so hard to make this work. Now, we keep referencing Wizards of the Coast, but of course, just the way that Disney are the head name in theme parks, and we've still mentioned Eiffeling, one of the dream theme park experiences of my life, and of course, Holiday World. Holodog, hey man, can't wait to have a drink with you. But there are
Drink
other
a Pepsi.
companies. What, honey?
Drink a Pepsi.
Drink a Pepsi. Disney World has Coke. Holiday World has Pepsi. This is a thing for me. It's Wizards of the Coast are, of course, the name in TCG branding, but companies like Ravensburger are creating products. And, sometimes when we say something like it's just like Magic is working down from 20, this is working up to 20. Actually, for the sake of copyright, that kind of mechanic, working up versus working down, it's a totally different thing. And you might be someone who is perhaps neurotypical in a way where up versus down doesn't affect you in like what draws you to the game. But there are tons of neurotypical people or people who experience some level of neuroatypical behavior where the attraction to up versus down is a significant draw. The idea of I'm earning something versus I'm losing something. And so when I was trivializing the idea of the nature of gameplay moving up versus down, I'm kind of being unfair because I would absolutely shit on anyone who said Dragon Quest is exactly the same as Final Fantasy. I can't stop laughing at you right now. And I'm the one who made the example. You're a fictitious person. So
You dumb fiction person.
you
And it's the
fake
same
me.
way
Hey, let's hang
that
out.
I tell people you might love, as a first-person shooter, you might love Splatoon because the ultimate point of the game is to ink the most turf. It is not to kill your opponent. It's the mechanics are ever so slightly different in a way that really might work for you. Like you can have a certain skill set that you can't necessarily have for other first-person shooters and succeed. In this way, if you think about, I am not having to figure out how to attack the best and take my opponent down the best, I really might be able to keep my opponent at bay while I build myself up in the background.
Kevin, could you zoom in on that Tinkerbell card that's up in the upper middle
Yeah.
row? It's actually because they thought about this so much, they decided that there would be ways to use pixie dust to grow, and
Yeah.
that's a giant Tinkerbell. That's
Giant
not a
fairy,
mini
holy
Yeah,
shit.
giant fairy like me.
Oh yeah, you are a giant fairy. And I think that is the thing that makes this game so special. We keep talking about it, we keep beating around the bush, but like, what makes Disney special compared to Nara Dreamland? What makes Blizzard Beach different from Action Park? Probably the body count. But
Yeah.
what I think I'm trying to say is like, Green Lantern is Space Cops. Okay, so is Nova. Why can Green Lantern, at its best day, support 4 titles a month, but Nova, on its best day, asks for Quasar's help supporting 1? And I think what I'm trying to say is, when you look to a TCG, what makes I'm making a game up right now. I don't know that this ever actually existed, but what makes a Pokemon different from a Polar Express, the trading card game, where you have different mech trains that battle in different winter storm scenarios?
Yeah,
You know,
that exists.
God, I would kill for that game. Mech trains and snow scenarios. God, add some fall leaves, and this is me.
Uncanny Valley indeed.
Gosh. So, I think what I'm trying to say is Lorcana has something going for it that is sort of the nature of Disney itself. An unbelievable sense of what maybe Don Bluth doesn't have. It's not just a difference in frames per second and a difference in composer. There's a sense of what makes the artistry. It's why you're tuning into this show and not a different show. There's something about our spirit that draws you. I'm frankly kind of enamored of the magical spirit of this game. Michael Bolton as Hades right there is everything you need to know.
Oh my God.
Mickey Mouse looking like frankly, he looks like oh God, if only Jonah was here. Dark Sorcerer. He looks like Dark Magician. He looks like Dark Magician from all my Yugi decks, because when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, I played a heavy Yugi deck and I played all the Dark Magicians. He looks just like a purple Dark Magician. But can I say the actual thing? He looks like a faggot. Like Mickey Mouse looks gay there.
I feel like there's
awesome.
Also such a sense of even whimsy about itself. Something I noticed as I was scrolling through the cards around this time is this action card of "You have forgotten me," and I was like, "You're seriously turning such a dramatic and important moment from the movie into an attack card for Lorcana." It's almost funny, and it has this sense of nostalgia and awareness in that regard. And I love that about it.
And I think, Kelly, you point to something that might be really key and important for this game, which is that if it's going to succeed, it needs adult disposable income, which means it's going to be a lot of adult players, which means a line like "You have forgotten me" needs to be a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Yes, you are presenting this moment in the movie that is very dramatic and makes sense as a reference for a game that Disney, the company, is using to take their fairy tales and turn them into gameplay. But there's also got to be something about it that's you slam that card down in the middle of a really tough battle and it breaks some tension and you all laugh and you say in the James Earl Jones voice to the person across, "You have forgotten me." And
actually, it's Monet Exchange in the James Earl Jones voice doing it for you.
Yeah, that's true. She's doing a little bit of opera. She's doing a little bit of Darth Vader. She's doing a little bit of Mufasa. Thank you. You're just
that.
A triple threat, Monet. So yeah, that's one of the things I'm really paying attention to here. We are men in our late 30s who are really talking about are we gonna can we form a micro league amongst our family and our friends and really enjoy playing this game together. And then can we take that out into the world? And I'm curious, are a lot of other people feeling that way, and is this enough of a basis for something that this game can be the seed of something that in 2053 announces its first huge IP expansion?
Because one of the things that's so great about using a property in a company like this is so many of us did grow up on so many of these things.
Excellent.
And it's locked in so many of our brains in ways that it's just stuck there forever, and it makes something that can be overwhelming, like a card system game like this, feel a lot more accessible because you're coming to it with so much knowledge already. These characters, you're interested in these characters, and seeing them reinvented in these super cool ways, this is awesome. The giant fairy thing, it makes sense for the character. It makes sense as something she could do, and it's awesome to see. things like the Three Musketeers ducks. That was a cartoon direct-to-DVD movie that I didn't have, but a lot of people did.
And then I spent a
yeah.
crazy amount of money in my 20s to get that stupid fucking Mickey bean bag from Disney Store.
Yeah, and whatever this guy is, that is another adventurer type that's like that. I couldn't tell from far away. I was like, is this also Three Musketeers? There could be another Mickey just like the Donald, or whatever this guy seems to be. Looks, I don't even know what that is. I don't know why he's green, but I'm
He
into
looks like
it.
a religious crusader, to be really honest with you.
Yeah, it looks like it's something rogue. It might be. Who knows? And it's just, there's so many cool ways to view these characters and so many ways to use this knowledge to interact with this type of gaming in ways that I would have probably found less accessible with different properties. But this is something that I think can make it so light and fun and easy to follow.
The other thing that I think is really important to remember about something like a TCG is the T of a TCG. Number one, side note, if you're an LGBT gay and you cut off the T, just turn off the channel. But
Yeah.
The other place that the T really matters, and matters like 1/80th as much, right? I just didn't want to go on about how important the T is in any topic without making sure that every single one of our trans brothers, sisters, and people who don't choose to define themselves by one letter or another know that that is not the only T that matters, is the trading of it, actually. Kevo, I don't imagine you want to play Lorcana even for one goddamn second, but I bet you want to make a cool deck of all your favorite things in all of Disney. And man, I'm going to be so excited to track these cards down with TK for you and like make sure you have the deck of your dreams. But I don't think you're interested in playing. And like, I do think that is the magic of a TCG. You can play, you can watch, you can just collect. Everything is totally welcome.
Probably not hyper competitively, but it depends on. I'll probably want to watch and see how gameplay goes, and see how I feel from there.
I love that. Now, I know we plan on doing some unboxing on air. Can't wait to play this game and share it with you guys. It looks beautiful. It looks, honestly, if I'm giving a 1 to 5 on difficulty, 1 being the easiest, 5 being the most difficult, I say this looks like it's going to come in between a 2.75 and a 3.25. I don't think it looks like it's going to hit like upper echelons of difficulty, but I do think it looks like there's enough elements to the gameplay where if you're an adult looking for a challenge, you're not going to be bummed that you're getting war, right? But it doesn't look like it's too much more complicated than Uno. So as long as you can handle Dos, I think you're Trace Leches. Oh God, I'm going to hell. I'm Cuban. So okay, let's move to the thing I kind of tricked TK into doing this episode. But this was something that Kevo and I lost countless hours of our lives to.
We did. No regrets.
No regrets. We are here to talk a little bit about Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, which I don't know that Lorcana, I almost said Organa, like Leia. I don't know that Lorcana could exist without. Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom was an experience unlike anything else Disney has ever produced. When you walked into the park, your ticket became your sorcerer's key, and you could walk to one of 2 locations, either the Main Street train station. Now, the Main Street Firehouse. I need to say, I worked on Main Street for 4 years. I have an incredibly romantic relationship with Main Street Ops, so I'm going to talk about it like it's Main Street Ops a lot, and these guys are going to call me out. Thank goodness for them. The Firehouse had been very little more than a walking tour and sometimes pin station for special events at the Very Merry and the Not So Scary parties, which were hard ticket events where the park would close at like 7. And if you bought the ticket to this special event, you could come in at 4 and stay till like midnight or 1. And there was exclusive things. Only certain rides were open, but special characters were out. Food and drinks were all over the park for free. But they finally decided to give the the firehouse something to do, and they set up another stand over in Sleepy Hollow. And these 2 locations would be locations that if you went with your ticket, they would say to you, okay, Sorcerer, has your ticket been turned into a key yet? And they would give you a key, and the keys were pretty cool. Oh man, I was literally gonna bust mine out, but this guy's like an actual sorcerer.
Please do.
So you would get these keys, and these keys would allow you to begin your journey as a sorcerer, and you would be given 5 random cards. And these 5 random cards, here's a key, right? And these 5 random cards that you would get in this free pack would allow you to walk around the parks, and you would be able to go up to these magical locations. And they were labeled on maps, so you would never like actually be guessing, but you would go up to what looked like a store window, like it's an actual window in an actual store, or it's a long-standing portrait. And you would hold that key up to that window, and the window would transform into a sorcerer portal, and you would engage in an ARG style battle. Merlin from Sorcerer in the Stone would appear, who it turns out was a forced inclusion by the creator in Lorcana. Originally, Disney was not going to include him in Lorcana. What a joke. What a great Marvel sorcerer. Anyone who's ever played Kingdom Hearts knows that's where you get your summons. If Simba trusts him, so do I. So, which, you know, that's why I trust Nathan Lane. So, you would go up to these windows, and you would hold your key card up, the key card I just displayed earlier. And you can see on the map, these star locations are the battle locations, these icons, right? And it would say, Sorcerer, there's a battle against. And now whoever you were fighting in that area in Liberty Square was...
when you would get your key, they would send you specifically to a location. You'd be assigned one at one of these map locations, and that's where you would start. And it would bounce you per adventure from location to location in each land. So you would have, it would be like a 4-act, I want to say, adventure in Adventureland, and then your next one it would bump you to, it would tell you to go to Liberty Square, for example. And you would have these, you could find them by the little marker on the ground, and you would put your key card up to a little lock type thing, and your window would activate, and you hold up your spell cards to cast a spell. I think that you could do multiple spells for sure. I can't remember how many cards you could hold up at once.
3.
I feel like some people tried to wild out and do like 5.
I mean, I think technically they said you can hold up as many as you'd like, but I think essentially
it's whatever the sensors caught.
It was really reading for like IR code basically, and it could only really pick up 3 at a time. Yeah, I mean, you're describing it beautifully. It was incredible, and you would play through, and it would reward you. And I believe when you won, you could pick up another pack of cards. Now, for the first 3 or 4 months, you could get cards 1 through 50 or 60. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then they said the final 10 cards would be available for sale in these bonus buyable packs. And now you can see that they made these cards pretty significant. Ariel, Dumbo, Finn, Hercules, Jasmine, Mama Odie, Merryweather, Mr. Incredible, Mushu, and Winnie the Pooh. For those who don't know, I'm literally never wearing pants when I'm on screen because I am basically Winnie the Pooh. There's actually a honey pot just off screen right over there. And I definitely associate my beautiful husband down at the bottom with Dumbo, the way I associate that handsome, wonderful boyfriend of mine in the middle with Donald Duck. So this was manipulative of us. They forced us to buy all of the specialty packs till we got all 10, and actually Dumbo was the last card we ever got, and we traded for it. We had a double of Ariel, and we traded her for the Dumbo because this game was so legit in the parks, and it's only ever been in one park, Magic Kingdom, that they set up trading locations throughout the park to just hang out and trade your Sorcerers cards.
Because they
Now,
needed to police the traffic at a certain point because people were doing it anyway. So they were like, well, this is the spot we've designated for you. This is where you do your trading.
Now, they went on to be so popular that I keep mentioning them, the Very Merry and the Not So Scary. These events were so popular that they each got their own card. Now, we're missing a total of 8 cards. So anybody who's looking to trade, please feel free to hit me up. I am happy to trade with you till I get the 8 that I am missing. But these are some pretty cool cards, and they usually reflected the holiday. And it's a really interesting thing because this was sort of like, what if Lorcana was bound to the physicality of Magic Kingdom? It's essentially the same thing. You actually had to play strong enough spells, and if it wasn't strong enough, you had to combine spells, and certain spells combined better than others, and it was a
And
game.
while not free, you genuinely even could purchase
I was almost like, oh, who's that hot guy?
the medal that you are perceived to receive when you beat the game. This was my profile picture for a little while because I really wanted to just beat around to the game one day, and I did, and I got to Master Sorcerer, and so I have my little button, and it was a fun thing. It was just a really cute special thing. I highlighted 2 of our favorite portals here. I loved the one that opened up in the Art of Disney store. It normally sat looking just like one of the framed pieces of art, and it would activate as one of the portals. Or there's a curtained window in Liberty Square, and when you would activate the portal, the curtain would part and the portal would activate, and it was just so cool. And they were all over the place.
Can you
And
imagine just being in that Art of Disney store, looking at art and just seeing, oh my God, somebody's like magically battling one of the portraits next to me.
it was like in unused fireplaces, in fast food restaurants, and so many cool places. The only part of the parks that they didn't utilize for reasons unknown to me is Tomorrowland, which we constantly talked about the really cool villains that you could have possibly battled in Tomorrowland. Zerg or something like that, but unfortunately, instead, after nearly 10 years of this game, they instead went in the direction of removing it shortly after they reopened from COVID.
They got COVIDed pretty hard. It was pretty hard to figure out how to send cast members to be like, 5 feet of space, standing in the middle of the street.
Yeah, I feel like it had probably already waned in popularity to a degree before things closed up before COVID, because these things just go in cycles. Very, very rarely does an attraction last forever in the Disney parks. The way everyone's freaking out about Splash Mountain changing over. It's only from 1993, you guys. So many older attractions got completely gutted for stupid things like Princess Meet and Greets. I'm still sad that Snow White is gone, and that was a much longer lived attraction than Splash Mountain. And we got nearly a decade of it. Toward the end, we weren't even really playing it because it was so hard to slow down and find the time to go to these portals, often wait online for your turn. As cool as it wasn't easy to play, and so I really understand getting rid of it. I just thought it was so awesome to have this in-park experience that you could show people who might find it interesting.
It was so exciting when it first happened that we had other cast member friends who would be like, oh, you're going to the parks that day? I'm going to come with you. Just go to the parks, get my Sorcerers cards, and leave for the day. It was exciting because you never knew what 5 cards you were going to get in that pack. And then if they had Sorcerers in stock in the Emporium, you could walk into the Emporium, the store on Main Street, and buy I think it was like $18.99. So it was like 20 with tax. And it was 7 cards, and you were guaranteed 1 of the special cards and 1 of the rarer cards because there was a distribution rate. In every pack of 5, you got like 3 of your pack of 5 were from 30 to 50 or 30 to 60, and then like one of your pack of 5 was like 10 to 20. Like there were rules, and so like when you went and bought one, you get better numbers.
You see
Oh,
how
look at that
hot
Hot and
Triton is?
Triton card. Jeez, he was so fucking buff. Anyway, this was such an exciting thing that it actually even led to spin-offs. And while it was nowhere near as important as Sorcerers and certainly didn't even last like more than a year, there was a short-lived attempt to what if we did this without cards? And Disney launched a product that they sort of attributed to the Pirates craze, but really just were looking for a
right.
hit. And they launched this counter product that used the popularity of the maps from Sorcerers, and they called it like Pirates Cove or Pirate Experience, something
Pirate
like that.
Adventure.
Pirate Adventure. And it was these deluxe paper maps, and it was exactly the same thing, but as long as you went to the location, you got the credit. You never had to battle anything. And there were 6 unique maps that are currently falling all over the floor because they are on high gloss, soft, like laminated paper. And they were the same thing. They were like run around all of Adventureland and I think a little bit into Frontierland. And it was like, we've hit something so magical with Sorcerers that we just can't keep up with demand for the print on the cards, that the only way we can make this work is if we produce, and then here was the medallion for it. Oh, it's in a Sorcerer's bag, so it's got a plastic thing in front of it. Hold on one second. Let me pull it out. Pirate Adventure, yeah.
And Pirate's Adventure, yeah.
It was a crazy little thing that they did. They were just like, Sorcerers is so popular. The thing we keep running out of is the physical cards. There were days they would be like, we're out of today's allotment of cards. I'm sorry. They would run out of cards for the pirate, I almost said Pirate and Princess party. God help me. The Halloween and Christmas party all the time. The only non-holiday parties they've ever really tried to push that are Disney exclusive, not like private parties booked, were Star Wars Celebrations and Pirate and Princess, which was a really cool thing that happened in 2010 that was really special. But
That's
yeah,
right.
So Sorcerers was so crazy, so one of a kind, so special. Like, TK, what does it feel like to hear about this experience that was in Park Lorcana?
I'm jealous, frankly. I love an ARG, and this is, we typically associate ARGs with a little bit more, like digging for code in this, digging for a message in the source code for
Listening to an audio file to look at the audio spectrum, to examine the spectrum produced, to find the letters in the spectrum.
But, essentially what an ARG boils down to is doing something yourself in the world that is in some way play within the game. So approaching a window at Disney World and initiating a sequence and then, having a play moment. And that is a very specific and particular type of ARG that I just think it sounds really cool. The gameplay is very simplified, which I think is really fun. And I find it really fascinating because I'm not sure, like, I would just love to sit and know what the numbers were like in terms of what was spent.
Yeah.
And what, is this just built into how much it costs to run the park and is just kind of your added bonus? Or was there really a hope that, like, would this draw people? Was this produced to draw more people to the park, and did it work? Or was there like based on who we know is coming, we can produce this game and draw more money out of those people, essentially. Like, I'm really fascinated by what the decision-making process was around producing this game, and, you know, if there's anything like it possible in the world we live in today.
The only real swang my dong I really want to do about being a cast member or this game, this whole episode, I happen to be a Main Street cast member February 22nd, 2012, when this game launched. And opening cast members only were originally given the only oversized card, and there happened to be a handful left. And I had good standing on my record card, no call-ins, no lates, no look demerits. The one time a coordinator, Bill, told me to shave because I had grown too much stubble in the course of my 17-hour shift. After 12 and a half hours, I went and shaved in the bathroom on my break. I was a good cast member. And when I see this go for like $6,000 on eBay, I absolutely laugh because it just hangs in my house. But I do have an official cast member card. It is,
He even looks like you did at the time, people commented, which is really funny. If you let your hair get shaggy at the time, that was pretty much you.
That was, I had
Right
been
into the
shaggy,
Main Street.
no facial hair. It was what I looked like in that costume. And it says the power of the
Good.
Sorry, it says the power of the cast members, 4 keys. With these 4 keys all in hand, our cast spread magic throughout the land. You know, I regardless of anything you want to say about SAG-AFTRA or the WGA or whatever, I really do know as a teacher what it's like to feel really unappreciated. And as a teacher, I will tell you that the unappreciation that you experience as a Disney cast member actually really rivals that of a teacher. As a teacher, you kind of know what you're getting into, but as a Disney cast member, you think you're there to bring magic to people. And like, I would literally have like totally white English speaking, I don't believe these people spoke of like a non-English language for one moment. And you would say to them, "I'm sorry, you need to move." And they would say to me, no habla English. And like, you know, like you would really get kind of like I was literally spit on. Like you would literally get spit on by people. All you want to do is bring joy and like magic. And so it was just really cool that as somebody who felt like the amount of magic I tried to bring was disproportionately shit on by guests. And don't get me wrong, stories that would make your dead ancestors come back from the dead and cry in positive ways from the incredible, magical, unforgettable experiences I had as a cast member. But like, that's kind of maybe what, like, you know, Bob Iger's comments are garbage and really don't reflect the real world. They don't reflect any world I've ever lived in, and they certainly don't reflect the future of our world. But when we talk about the Disney company, we're not talking about one very handsome, now stupid speaking CEO. We're talking about a legacy of 100 years of identities, characters, diversity, inclusion, people, magic, stories, films, TV shows, stage plays, etc. And when I think about Disney, when I think about that magic, I think about the fact that, like, when I was a cast member, there was a card that looked just like me that said, "Hey man, keep your head up. Magic is cool." I wish it had come with like a $10 an hour increase, but that's why we're talking about Disney right now, because that cast member card exists. And as the guy that cast member card looked like, hey, thanks. It also looked like my very hot buddy, Andrew. But that's another story for, you know, XI for show.
A different episode.
Yeah.
XXXI for show.
God bless. So TK, I want to pass it to you before Kevo gets to give us like a what it was like to come to be part of this. But like, you know, this game was designed for you, dude. I remember when I tried to tell you how cool Disney was. This is one of the things I tried to sell it to you with, and it had just closed, which was such a bummer.
I'm so sad you don't get to experience it.
But there was stuff like the glow with the show ears, which are these magical ears that use location-based sensors, where, so if you're in front of somebody, these mouse ears, which are clear, flash with the lights in front of you during whatever parade, fireworks show or stage show you're seeing and line up with what's happening on the stage. So if you're blocking anybody's view, you're not anymore. And that's kind of the magic of what I look to share with people about the Disney experience. As somebody I wish I could have shared Sorcerers with, what do you see from Sorcerers in Lorcana that is what maybe is that identity that I was so excited to bring this to the episode with?
It's that core Disney thing. And it's in Illusion Island too. It is, if you are not in the park, what elements of the park can you bring to where you are? And what Sorcerers is bringing the piece of the park that you carry out with you every time back into the park to sort of create a feedback loop of experience. But what both Illusion Island and Lorcana do is say, like, we've picked select elements of the magic for you to enjoy at home. And what I'm always curious about is how possible, like how broad that can go, and how much can that be an ARG? How much can the world around you become a park, become part of the Disney experience?
They should just make you anyone who doesn't know Imagineers, you don't apply. They just call you and they're like, you're a genius. Come work for us. That's Imagineer talk.
I mean, I would not qualify, but I do understand and
Too
see,
sexy, I know.
I do understand and see what they're going for in a lot of these cases, and I really respect it. You know, I'm not uncynical enough to understand. That's why the first thing I said about Sorcerers is like, okay, talk to me about the cost to produce it, what value it created monetarily for the company, and like, did it stop because it stopped providing that, or did it never provide that? I want answers to these things. But like, I mean, the reason Pokemon got to another level of success is because they figured out how to bring the catching of Pokemon into everyday life. And, you know, Ingress, which came before it, Niantic, the company that makes Pokemon Go, really right place, right time, but also really smart developers.
You guys have no clue how cool Ingress was. And then I was
Truly.
the only person playing it within 45 miles, and it was not cool.
Yeah.
You and
You were
me
so
both, which is no surprise. But and you know the one of the problems I had with Ingress early on was phones weren't powerful enough, and so you know, when I say right place, right time, I mean like phones got to the right place of power right around the time
Truly.
that you know, this game came out. The fact that launch-wise they nailed the spring launch so that you could actually be outside catching your Pokemon. But my point is, like, I so want to see Disney do that, and yet I also recognize that they probably look at doing it a lot, and there's probably a lot of recognizing, like, this is not this right place, like maybe Northeast United States, where it's much more difficult to get to Disney. Northeast United States is the right place to try and launch something, but it's a bad time because the way we want to do it maybe doesn't match with the trends of how people are using their phones or are using social media or are being out in the world. We don't have a good enough partner when it comes to place location such that we can do kind of the ARG experience. But
Thanks, Obama, for ruining McDonald's.
truly, like, we just use those.
They really did. Disney and McDonald's had a humongous partnership for like
Yeah.
40 years.
Yeah.
And then the Obama administration changed food regulations because it turns out McDonald's had been peddling poison to children for like 40 years.
Some
So Disney
decades.
was like, we don't really want to be a part of this poison brigade anymore.
Yeah.
And they kicked all McDonald's off property except one.
But you know, that's why we saw you had so many great Happy Meal Disney toys. Just like when we were kids, they were fantastic. So you know, I would love to see Disney bring the magic of the park out into the world in an ARG Pokemon Go type of way. And I see the way that they fused the two with Sorcerers, and I see the way that Illusion Island and Lorcana are attempting to put those into the medium of platformers and trading card games. And I do believe they were successful with the platformer, and I really think that the game has a real chance to be successful. And so that's kind of, that's everything. That's the whole package.
I think for me, it comes down to whether they're going to say Disney or Disney.
Right.
Whether or not Lorcana is going to succeed. I think Illusion Island, you commented on the uneven reviews.
Yeah.
What I've noticed, the reviews are either a 2-star or an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing in between. Nobody's like, oh, it gets a 3. Everybody out of 5. Everybody's like, oh, it's like an 8 out of 10, or it's like a 1.5. And it's either it's charmless or it's so charming. And I really think it's how you read the word Disney. Now, Kevo, as somebody who doesn't play games, but Sorcerers took you, man. You were so into Sorcerers. And like, you did this episode on Illusion Island and on Lorcana. What is it about Disney gaming that is the Disney magic to you?
I am not sure. I had a different thing that I was going to respond to.
Oh,
instead.
then say that. That's way better than any question.
I feel like a lot of those responses come down to a lot of the responses you see in a lot of nostalgia and just new things in general. I was so pleased to see the reactions to something we're going to be talking about tomorrow, which is the musical episode of Strange New Worlds, because something like that normally gets such sour reactions in this day and age.
But it kept
People
us
are
connected.
so quick to jump to being critical of something instead of just giving it a chance and having fun. Remember fun, guys? Like, do you remember
waving?
You're waving and clapping at the end of movies? Oh my god, a bunch of Zennials clapped at the end of Haunted Mansion, and I was shocked that these teenagers clapped because I was like, oh, kids remember stuff like that? That's nice. Just enjoying things. Like, sometimes they were obnoxious in the movie, I'm not gonna lie, but like, they would scream during the jump scares, and what I think many people would find annoying, teenagers, shut up! I thought it was cute. It was funny. They were actually reacting to the movie in genuine, joyful ways. And,
And in like in interactive ways. It wasn't just like laughing at it.
No, they were really genuinely enjoying the film and physically reacting to enjoying the film. And I think so many people are so friggin' grumpy, and especially something like Disney can bring so much joy out in you instead. Sometimes being negative really is a choice, and you just gotta let go and enjoy. And I think that even speaks to your question as well. It's just sometimes being happy is a matter of choosing to be happy. And I think you can find so many ways to enjoy these properties. And these two games that we talked about that are active right now are so cool, whether you're a video game stir or whether you're a card stir. Or, if they can find some way to expand Lorcana, like we said, maybe replace my loss of Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. That'd be super cool.
I just want to jump in and say that, like, yeah, no one like chooses to be sad, but like you can choose to see joy in something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say just don't be sad, because that's dumb. I suffer from, chronic depression, and like, I know it's not that simple, but I do know that the days that are the hardest, if I don't try to see the joy in things, I'm never gonna. And I feel like your point about Illusion Island, Lorcana, and Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom, guys, am I fucking Mickey Mouse? No. Am I a sorcerer running around a theme park, bending reality? No. But am I choosing to appreciate it? Am I choosing to have fun? Am I choosing to just let go, jump in because it's what I'm waiting for? Yeah. And that's the magic of something like Sorcerers, something like I am excited to experience in TK's living room in Maine, something like I'm excited to experience every night when I open my Switch and I play well, until the TCG app comes out for Lorcana, I'm playing Illusion Island. That's what I'm really in for, you know? And so, does anybody have anything else they want to say on this before we mention tomorrow's episode that I am like legitimately gay bones excited about, like a Last Perfect Thing reunion show?
Just, I would say Illusion Island, well worth it. Lorcana, first wave is August 18th with another one September 1st.
81881 great.
Yes, thank you. So you've got time to get into it if you want. Trading card gaming is such an interesting world, and I do think it's one of those things that, like, you might sort of think it's not for you, it's for kids. This one in particular, because it's a Disney one, I actually really think it's never been a better time for adults to get into these things. I think it really takes a strategic mind that has sort of lived through experience, not that
And
you
an
can't play
adult
as a kid.
income.
Also really an adult income, but I really recommend that, like, you dig into it a little bit. These things are fun, and if you do, message us, because we're gonna be looking for people to play with, and I would love for us to, like I said, I know we'll have a little family league, but I would be super happy to expand that out into the world.
Action pack.
Action booster pack.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, TK is the world's biggest cynic, and Kevo is the world's least game-playsy player guy.
Least aggressive, for sure.
For sure. These are two guys who are here to tell you, don't waste your money if it's a waste of your money, not to tell you don't do it. If they're both saying do it, I feel like that makes me feel a little bit better about this thing that I want to tell everybody to do, because there's things that, like, ultimately I'm like, yeah, yikes. Sorry, I called it wrong. Aliens, Colonial Marines, called it wrong.
Yeah.
Prometheus,
There's a lot of games I don't recommend.
Didn't call it wrong. You're all wrong if you don't see
Okay.
that Prometheus is about the
Okay.
folly of the human spirit.
Okay.
Anyway, I feel like I've been overruled, but
Yes.
Strange New Worlds is going to be brilliant. They did an Alien episode, so they'd let me talk about it.
They did 2 Alien episodes in just the first season, I feel like. So yeah.
One of the things that's really important to talk about, just to introduce the idea of the Strange New Worlds musical and the Lower Decks crossover that we're going to talk about tomorrow, and it actually is the identity of Illusion Island. When you talk about the first-person experience and the idea of stepping into a separate world, what you're asking the creators to do is to paint a picture that feels walk into a bull. Now, when I think about Georgia O'Keeffe's Black Cross over New Mexico, I think about a piece of art that, like, speaks to the fragility of space in location, but, like, when you contrast that with something that feels the need to overfill space, like to use something as, popularized as like Hieronymus Bosch, you know what I mean? That contrast of identity, of space versus filled, there is a big idea of asking somebody to create something for you to walk into. And if you're somebody who wants to walk into a dead space and fill that space with your ideas, versus if you're somebody who wants to walk into a space fully populated with existence, that's kind of what, like, makes art and I think maybe modern dance so powerful. Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks crossover, and the musical Subspace Rhapsody, both offer you that opportunity in the same way. You can take Lower Decks as a Georgia O'Keeffe Black Crossover New Mexico, and you can read it as Dead Space. The things you don't know about Lower Decks won't impede you from celebrating the quality of the humor and the depth of the drama. But if you're somebody who understands the complexity of every joke there, it's a Hieronymus Bosch painting where every inch represents celebratory victory. And I feel that's the same thing that can be said about the musical Subspace Rhapsody, which just dropped this past Thursday. And, it really is such an incredible time to be a Star Trek fan. I've been a Star Trek fan since I'm literally 5 years old. One of my first Halloween costumes ever was Spock. I was really weird into Spock. I have a pointy ear. Wait, did I cover the wrong one? Nope, that was the right one. I have a pointy ear. And so I just always really identified as Spock. And this is just a great time to be a Star Trek fan, something that I've been for 32 years out of 37, the only thing I've been longer than that is a Mariah Carey fan. So I am just really excited that something that I love so much, and that's, of course, Mariah Carey, is never been more accessible, never been more, I think, honest. I think that's what this series of Strange New Worlds has been. An honest exploration of the human spirit in a bare chest, broken open rib cage kind of way. And, I am over the moon getting to talk about this tomorrow with you guys at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Yeah, we're gonna have a blast. You guys have really been steadfast Star Trek fans this whole time. I have been one for the same amount of time, but I have eased into this new era slowly. I think I was really heartbroken by the Abrams films, and I just sort of didn't think that
Kevo literally had to ask me to be quiet in the theater something like 6 or 7 times as I screamed over those films and raged.
Into Darkness specifically.
Oh my god, that was the worst film going experience of my life.
Absolutely understandable. And I just sort of thought maybe Paramount Viacom just didn't really have it in them to steward this incredible, important franchise. I thought maybe I was actually wrong, and it didn't have the ability to really become a fully serial property where it used to be so episodic, and it really was Alien of the Week, Planet of the Week episodes. I thought maybe it actually wasn't possible because Roddenberry created it in an era where that sort of serial storytelling didn't happen. And it, I warmed up more. I liked Discovery when I saw it, but I didn't fully warm into it. I warmed up more with Picard, and I've just sort of been kind of saying it's probably not bad, but I just don't know. And really, it took, with so many things for me, I will almost love it more if it has to be work. If I can find a way in through work, then I can love it and sort of come back and be like, now it's not work anymore. And yeah, you're a lot of work.
I love being the work of your guys' life.
It's great work. It is it's a mitzvah, as they say. But
you hear that in Yiddish?
This watching the musical was for me kind of the nadir, or the next step in my okay, I actually just like this now. My doubts are out the window, and I'm just kind of down for whatever happens. Even my biggest thing, which I talked to you a lot about this, Kevo, which is that I was just I think I don't really want to watch anything but what's next, what's happening, whatever is happening to Picard. I want to know what's going on in the world now for everybody. I would like Star Trek Legacy, the proposed show that takes place after Picard with Jerry Ryan as a captain. I would like that. I'm not really interested in what happened during the original series era. That's just sort of retreads and retcons, and I just think I don't care. And I have really been proven solidly wrong.
That's right. The Gorn said no.
Yeah. The future said no. The past said no. there's just a lot going on, and it really is a great time to be a fan of this franchise. And, you know, it's never been more accessible. Really, bravo to Paramount for how solid their streaming lineup is, although not bravo because pay everybody properly. Listening to Raffi, the actor who plays Raffi, just talk about how terrible conditions and payment are for her was really one of those, like, she illustrated it so well, and it just made me not happy. I want to see her get her due because she works so hard to make such an amazing character.
You know, Kevo, your Star Trek record outstrips mine. I might go back longer, but you're the deeper fan, and I just wanted to highlight that as I pivot to you.
I think Paramount has recognized the potential for the property in some very productive ways that I am glad to see, is how I would put it. You know, they've employed Will Wheaton with the Ready Room, and do a lot of great stuff with that. They have a really good diversity of content that they are trying to make sure is accessible. Prodigy not withstanding, but there's a lot we can say about the treatment of Prodigy, both by Paramount Plus and by the goddamn fandom that did not care about Prodigy before it disappeared.
You had to work so hard to find how to watch that for us, let alone us be able to watch it, because that's how little people talked about it 6 months ago.
And I'm glad that it's done something to whip up the fandom and excitement, because this is definitely a fandom that deserves to be whipped up in excitement. And I think that has been very cool to see for them, and it's something that I hope we continue to see. But we've talked a lot about it on this broadcast, even though it's supposed to be for tomorrow. So,
you know, I just always want to make sure that everybody who tunes into this show recognizes that every show we do is sort of secretly the same thing. Is every season of The Real World the same experience? No. Dan saying, "Don't open mail that's not addressed to you, you stupid bitch," changed my life in a way that I bring up at least once a week. That's different than the way The Miz achieving his dreams changed my life, and is different than the way Ruthie getting clean changed my life. And like every
it's different
season
than desperately trying to not watch Frank and Trishelle have sex.
Oh my god, and what's his name that was in that season that they were like, his penis is literally frightening? The large gentleman.
The girl that beat up the dude, so he tried to have her kicked out of the house, and then the whole cast browbeat him into letting her stay, and she just sat there chain smoking, being like, "I guess
guys, I want to go eat dinner."
So, anyway, the way that every episode of this is like a season of The Real World, the stuff that we talk about is actually still the same through line of like geek, cool, current stuff. And I can't wait to take this Disney love and parlay it into Star Trek love tomorrow. Plus a little bit of food trucks, a little bit of Crime Scene Kitchen, some Project Runway. Of course, touching on Drag Race, we watched every episode of
oh my god,
Drag Race Australia, and Spanky Jackson told me that he would have sex with me for telling him he was hot, and that's what I'm taking his comment to mean. So my my penis will never be the same. But until we come back to talk about what honey was that?
I've updated a lot of the board, but now I have to switch over my Drag Race image over here.
There you go.
Oh, dude, that was so cool to see on air. That was like,
I love Milanote. It's
that was
so easy to use.
That was the theme park experience, right?
Yeah.
Right there. That was
Magic.
Tori Amos being like, "I don't want to do the song that I have written down on this piece of paper. I'm going to do Landslide instead." But until Tori Amos comes back to tell us she's getting a little bit older too, and Spanky Jackson comes back to let me top the life out of him, Kevo, where can everybody find you on this here incredible internet that we are so grateful you're on?
Doing the rounds. Start with me. You can find me at Kevo Really. That's KEVOREALLY. Teak, what about you?
You can find me at TK Elemental. Nico, what about you?
Nico Action, that's NICOACTION. And until we come back next time to talk about Star Trek and all of those amazing reality shows, we're going to keep this to 2:45. Please remember, as always, stay strong, stay safe, be brave, evolve daily so we can see you guys tomorrow. And we will see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard, to talk Star Trek.
Bye.